Welcome to the Candace Owens After School Special. Yeah, what's going on, party people? The place to be. I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? Shabbat Shalom. Happy Sabbath. Happy Saturday. It's summertime, and the living is crazy. And but we here though. We here, and we're here to chop it up and have a good time. And of course, having a good time usually means, as the nerd that I am, having a good time is fact checking. And the person I love fact checking with is my man right here, Mr. True ID, Adam Coleman. What's going on, sir? Oh, you're muted. Hold up. You're muted, bro.
There we go.
Hey, nice.
Let's try it again. How you doing, fam? You good, bro?
I'm good.
Yeah,
Saturday. Man. Is this the first time we did a Saturday night special?
Maybe. If not, it's the first time.
No. We did Aubrey. We talked about Aubrey. I think that was a Saturday.
No, right? Yeah, I think that was Saturday. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So obviously, you haven't learned your lesson yet, bro. I mean, obviously, you got me on here saying what I say, and then it's probably gonna cost you some more subscribers. So you haven't learned yet. You'll figure it out.
I'm a glutton for punishment. What can I say, bro? What can I say?
Right.
Let's say what's up to the party people real quick. We got the incomparable Nate 2D2. We got MJ Jackson in the building. We got Beatrice Wells. What good? We got Caramel Crunk. We got Rox B. We got Cool Blaze. I don't think I've seen you before, Mr. or Mrs. Blaze, but I'm glad you're here. Tyler,
that's my man. I think it's my man Carlton. I think it is.
All right.
Yeah.
We got Vada Real MC in the building. Okay. So, well, first of all, bro, how's it going in VA right now, man?
It's chilling, man. Like, we're chilling, cats are getting out and about more. We got, orders, you got to wear the mask and stuff like that. But you can definitely tell that there's more people, getting out and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm good. The family's healthy. You know what I mean?
Right,
so I definitely can't complain. Yeah. So
it's crazy, bro. It's good. It's crazy because I took an Uber to go deliver something to my in-laws. And, they live in the other part in Flatbush, right? Which is actually one of the most infected parts of Brooklyn. Man, Everybody's chilling. Everybody's out and about. I barely saw any masks, and if I did see a mask, it's like it was hanging off their neck. Oh, and to me, that's like walking with your underwear and your ankles. You know what I mean? It's like why even wear it? So
right.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy, but it is what it is. Hopefully, everybody's playing it safe, especially in Florida. You do wild in Florida.
Yo, what is it with Florida, B?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Like, seriously, why, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that about, man?
And then the governor was like, "Oh, it's because the Hispanic workers." Straight up.
Oh yeah, he did.
Straight up. Bro.
I saw that headline. I was like, "Wow, bro, this is what we're doing now."
Yes.
Apparently, it is. So
it's my people's fault.
Right.
Good job. Mind you, right?
Sound like you taking that personal, man.
A little bit.
Yeah.
a little bit, yeah.
Right.
Especially when my governor, he keeps reinforcing that how we got the Rona was from the Europeans who were traveling. They first thought it was China. Now we know based on the testing, it came from Europe. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was nuts, bro. It's nuts. But yeah, Beatrice, definitely. To all the bodega ladies, yes, they did an amazing job last night. We got Shawnee Miller, one of the bodega ladies here. Yes, you guys killed it. You guys were preaching.
Man, I'm sorry I missed it, man. Yeah, I tried to get up in there, bro.
Nah, bro, you can't. Nah, it's not that kind of ministry, bro. You can't be coming in here with with Medea attire. No.
Oh, snap. For people who don't know, I was up in on your Facebook. It put the Medea picture up there. So that was me trying to get in.
It's not that kind of church, brother. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
but
I have to say I'm hurt right now, man, because I actually did bring some food tonight. I got a pancake sitting right next to me, and I just dropped my fork on the floor.
Man, if you want to go clean and come back, yeah, bro, yeah.
Hey man, I'm really hurting right now, man.
Yeah. I'll talk to the people until Yeah, bro, good. I know you can't do apologetics on an empty stomach, so yeah.
No, I can't. I'll be right back.
Oh man, yes, Shawnee Miller, man, for a first timer, you killed it, man. You definitely killed it. Big up to you. You know what I mean? Oh, and of course, we got Mr. Phil Fox. I have the honor and the privilege to be able to be on his channel tomorrow at 4 p.m. So please make sure to tell a friend that us tribesmen are gonna link up tomorrow. Actually, Mr. Phil Fox, I need to hit you up, man. We need to talk about that heritage that we have. Me being Puerto Rican, part of my heritage is being Taino, which comes from the Arawak. So I definitely need to get schooled more on that part of my DNA by Mr. Phil Fox. So it's gonna be fun. And we got Michelle Turner, one of the bodega ladies who was heavy with the word of God, preaching. Like, yo, she was crushing it, bro. I mean, they were talking about discipleship, discipling, the importance of that, of one-on-one accountability.
Okay, all right.
It was not a game, bro. There was no fluff. They were calling out sin. It was not a game, bro.
Y'all weren't playing, bro.
No, it was not.
Man. I was dealing with a baby that decided they wanted to have diarrhea yesterday, so that's how I spent my evening.
That sounds very edifying.
Yeah, y'all were engaged in this, spiritual growth and so forth, and I'm just changing diapers, man. That
was a different form of growth, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It'll grow you. That's for sure.
That and patience, and so better you than me. But anyway, my man Benjamin's in the building. What up? What up? So we're here today. We're gathered here today to talk about our good friend Candace Owens once again. Somewhat recently, she came out with using her words, a rant, not mine, her words, about the whole situation with Mr. George Floyd. And me and Adam been wanting to comment on it, so it wasn't like we was dodging the issue. Far from it. It's just Mr. Coleman is super busy, and life happens. But we got time today.
We got time
today. Hey, what up, Miss Titus 2? Another bodega lady who killed it last night. Thank you.
Titus 2 in the building.
Yeah, it's not a game. So again, we want to be as charitable as possible, right, Mr. Coleman?
Absolutely.
With this situation. This is not a character assassination. We're not gonna defame her in any manner. This is not about slander. Mm-hmm. We just want her to have a better understanding and a better grip on facts. And we all have our blind spots, right?
Right.
And she's no different. And we just want to address that to help Miss Owens so that, hopefully she can stop doing these things, because her voice is huge.
Yeah.
Her influence is massive. I think when she first dropped that video, she had like 54 million views.
Oh yeah, I mean,
when it first. I mean, by now, I couldn't.
Man, who knows what it is?
So she has the ear of a large segment of this country and this world. So
yeah,
you have to be responsible, right? The level of responsibility is huge when you have that kind of a platform.
It's high.
And we just want to help. We just want to help to make sure you are accurate when you make certain statements. So and that's what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Mr. Coleman?
I don't know how far you want me to go on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep you from losing all your, but I'll say
I just want to lose 5 tonight. Just 5 subscribers. Okay. Keep it on 5 level.
So I've been having a lot of discussions on different people's channels, about race and about, everything going on with the Floyd situation. People have been having me on. And, inevitably, this idea of or this dynamic of political right versus political left, just finds its way, towards the center of our conversations. You know what I'm saying? One way or the other. It's kind of it's always in there somewhere.
Right.
Now, I don't consider myself, I'm certainly not, a Democrat or a Republican. But what I find is a lot of my, brothers and sisters in Christ, black, white, and otherwise, believe that the conservative side of the house is like the political extension of the church, right? And so, particularly those who are either white or maybe they're not white and they're appealing to Candace Owens because I'm black. They look to her as a voice, for their cause. And I'm going to be explicit. Like the most important thing to me is I'm concerned about, if we're going to lock arms with people, and just blindly endorse them, or I won't say blindly, but we have to be careful who we lock arms with. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that Candace Owens is a voice that is committed to viewing things and approaching things through a biblical lens. And so that's concerning for me because I've got brothers and sisters in Christ of all shades, really, who appeal to her as being like the go-to. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, we really need to think more critically. We need to think more biblically about these kind of things. And I don't think that she's helpful to that end. And so I'm going to be explicit. I don't know what it is. I just got off. I'm feeling kind of nice right now because I just got off of my first Patreon only book club. You know what I'm saying? Nice. So I'm feeling kind of relaxed. Whatever. We just finished that. So I'm feeling real relaxed right now. So that's either going to be real good or real bad. But what I want to say is I have a low key beef with all public figures in the Black community that are espousing unbiblical views. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that the intellectual life of the Black community, you know what I'm saying, needs a biblical foundation in order for our community to thrive. So whether it be a Ta-Nehisi Coates, whether it be a Coleman Hughes, whether it be a Candace Owens, whether it be a Larry Elder, whether it be a Jesse Lee Peterson, all those individuals diverge from the biblical worldview frequently in terms of how they approach issues. And so for me, I feel like it's my job to bring to the table the biblical perspective because that's what we need. We don't need to just, in Candace Owens' words, leave the Democrat plantation and then become sharecroppers for the Republicans. What we need to do is to disentangle ourselves from anything that is not reflective of God's character, God's nature. And we need to bring to the table the basket of moral virtues and the biblical worldview. If I'll just put it that way, I'm saying that's right. What we need to bring to the table, and then engage in the world in that manner. So anybody can get it, as far as I'm concerned. if you're articulating views that are not ultimately not strained through the biblical lens, right? Then I'm going to have an issue with it. I'm saying because I believe it's ultimately detrimental to the people in my context. And so that's the real reason why I find myself critiquing, Candace Owens, we're doing tonight.
Right. And, those of us who have, platforms like this, we definitely have to, our view of these things has to be more expansive, right? Because a lot of times, we're quick to critique certain segments for not being biblical, but we won't critique other segments for whatever reason, And that's something I'm personally learning that, if we see it, we definitely got to say something. It can't be just critiquing what we're comfortable critiquing in. Now you need to be informed of whatever you're critiquing, but if you see someone who's straying away from that biblical worldview and they have that kind of a platform, it behooves us to say something because you're out here representing something that I represent. Right. And I can't have you making me look crazy. Right. You know what I mean? So, very true. But with that being said, I think we should play the video. And as we do, we'll stop at certain points and we'll unpack it and, do what we do. So.
Oh, boy.
What's that supposed to mean?
I was pushed the wrong button. It's just watching this joint is difficult for me. It's really hard to watch. Yeah, but we'll give it a shot, and we'll stop along the way. All right. You ready to roll? Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I need to take my headphones out so I can. Let's see. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Hold up. My bad. Shoot. Can you hear me now?
Still hear you.
Oh man, I think I messed up. Sorry, bro. I think I messed up my audio. I pulled my headphones out and
when you share your screen, it has a thing that you click for audio when you're about to share a video.
What about now?
I can still hear you. I can hear you.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna have to exit out and then come back in, bro, because I just messed something up with my audio. I apologize.
All right, cool. I'll talk to the party people. It's all good. It's all
Sorry
good.
about that.
Yes, sir. No problem. Yes. That's for Adam. Yeah, no doubt. Adams he's out here, man. He's out here. We got Jones in the building. What's going on, family? What's going on? Yeah. So they've been more vocal about the church not being involved in social justice than they were about immigrants were treated at the border. I mean, that's something we got to talk about too, right? Because those are our brown brothers and sisters, right? Being mistreated. And we got to be that prophetic voice to say, hey, that's wrong. We need to stop that. Like, you're not treating them like the images of God that they are, right? So no, we gotta address all of that. Absolutely. So so who was here to watch the Bodega Ladies last night? Put a 1 in the chat. Who was here for that? Who was here for that? Oh, I think Mr. Coleman is back.
Okay.
All right.
I forgot I'm about to do this without the headphones. I forgot because
good now?
I'm going back and make sure I should be good. Yeah, my bad. Technical difficulties. My fault.
No problem.
All right. So let's
try.
It happens. Let's try this again.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
She is burning cultural bridges and doesn't realize she said something off center, and the right will leave her holding the bag. Yeah, pretty much. She don't get. Yeah. Because I agree, Mr. Fox. Yep. Absolutely. All right, so let's go for it. Wait, Nate always has to be the outlier. You see this? I said put a 1. He got to put a 0.9. See this? You see what I got to deal with? My goodness. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay. Oh shoot, where'd I go? Yo, I'm messing up. I swear I'm messing up today. Okay, here we go. Ooh.
Hello, Facebook family. I have decided to do this video. It has been weighing very heavily on my heart and on my mind as well. And it was something that I wanted to say early on, but there were so many emotions and so much pressure for me to go with the popular opinion about who George Floyd was. And sometimes it can be difficult when there are just so many external pressures to say what you believe. And this was an instance where I felt like my silence would have been better in the beginning, but the more that I think about it, I realize that we are being sold a lot of lies, and at the detriment to the Black community, at the detriment to the white community, and at the detriment to America as a whole. So I want to come out and say that I do not support George Floyd and the media depiction of him as a martyr for Black America. I'm going to explain why, and I hope that some of you guys will understand where I'm coming from. I have
you can stop right there.
Considerable.
You can stop right there.
A lot of Black authors.
All right.
So she says that she doesn't support him as a martyr.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is a martyr? Because we got to define terms. She's using a very specific term here. So what is well, actually, let me look at the definition real quick. Hold up. Let me look. You keep the video there.
Okay.
A martyr is someone who suffers persecution and death for advocating, renouncing, refusing to renounce, or refusing to advocate a religious belief or cause as demanded by an external party. Is that what happened to George Floyd?
Nope.
Right. So he's not a martyr. No one here is saying that he was.
Right.
So what she's doing is what we call the straw man fallacy.
Yeah.
Right? Tried and true. They always trot out the straw man. You know, it's nobody has ever argued that this dude was advocating for something, and because of his advocacy, he was murdered in cold blood. The man had a allegedly phony $20 bill and was killed for that, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the same as someone being martyred, you know. So
yeah,
that's just so off the rip. We got to just tear that down. Like that's just not.
Well, yeah.
Here.
And so what I want, and actually I want to kind of steel man the argument a little bit rather than straw man. We want to steel man. We want to make the argument stronger, right? And then show how it still fails. Right. So let's say that she was kind of just being flippant, or she meant martyr in like kind of a colloquial sense or something like that. No, it's kind of like, let's say she was just, either she was being funny, or, maybe she just meant like, people are esteeming him as like a good dude and other things that she kind of talks about later on. Now, even if that's the case, really, first of all, I don't see people going around making it seem like the man was Martin Luther King, obviously, what I'm saying?
Right.
Or whatever, upstanding, or just some upstanding person.
Right.
He's emblematic of a larger issue. I'm saying that's what we're talking about. That's what's really going on out here, right?
Right.
George Floyd is emblematic of a larger issue in the same way that Trayvon Martin was, or Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. These people are emblematic of a larger problem that people believe to be a real problem. That's what we're dealing with. And so I think it's really a kind of sleight of hand, if you will. You know what I'm saying? To kind of say, oh, we're just martyring the guy and making something out of him that he isn't. I mean, first of all, people who are closer to him, obviously they're going to focus on the positive. That's what that is. That's not really surprising. Right. And, you do see, and I don't want to give it all now, but you do see that, you seem to have some challenges, I guess, or however you want to look at it. But nevertheless, that doesn't mean that he's somehow not emblematic of the larger problem that people believe that he is. You know what I'm saying? So right. I just think that she's at the outset misconstrued the cultural phenomena that she's supposedly taking aim at. I'm saying this is not about people saying George Floyd was Jesus or something like that.
Right. Some Messiah figure.
Right. Even if maybe there are positive things being said. So, for example, some people have come out and talked about positive things, right? Apparently he was helpful to some churches in the area where they were trying to do some outreach.
Right.
And apparently that is the case. Now even let's say that, and we can probably get back to this later. But let's say that her view of him is correct in the sense that, he did all these terrible things. Let's say that that's true, right? That doesn't mean that it's false then, that the people who are reporting the positive things about him, it doesn't mean that those things are false. And if those things are circulating on the internet, okay, so be it. I'm saying, so what? That just means that, guess what? This gentleman was in real life bigger than his rap sheet. But Candace Owens wants to reduce him down to his rap sheet and leave it at that.
Right.
And it just means if everybody's not willing to condense him down to a series of wrongs.
Because if you look at everybody's life, you're going to see them doing some very noble things and some very ignoble things as well, including Miss Owens. Right. So,
yeah, sure.
So you can't be upset when someone wants to recognize the good. And, okay, he did some things that were wrong. Right. And he did some things he was good, like most humans on the planet. So you're not saying anything amazing right here, but you're only focusing on the negative because of a particular agenda that you have, in my opinion. So.
Well, yeah. So maybe we can just kind of get this out of the way. So we're gonna deal with substantive arguments, and we're gonna present evidence and counterpoints to her in just a little while. But just real quick, I'm just gonna give my opinion. This is purely opinion.
There goes 10 subscribers.
Yeah, it is. Now, so I think that when you're like a Candace Owens, right, and your platform depends upon you being the black person that beats up on other black people, then I think what happens is you find yourself boxed in such a way that with cases like these, you have to do what she's doing now and find the slimmest possible angle to respond to this type of situation, because you can't upset your platform. You can't upset your base. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think for her, that's kind of, it could be a motivation for why you would take this, why you would be so out of step with what's really going on here, is because at the end of the day, I think that, she has, financial and platform related motivations to do so, and I say that I'm not trying to be mean, because the reality is this. Look, I said on my wall the other day, for all of us who have a public platform, you can feel like a sort of pressure to speak on this or to speak on that. And sometimes it's best that you restrain yourself from speaking on things that you don't know what you're talking about. It's better for everybody that sometimes you just be quiet and not say anything at all. Like, just because you have a public platform doesn't mean you have to speak publicly on everything. And I think this is one of those instances where she seemed to find the one crevice of a corner where she could appease her base and say what she wanted to say. and to that end. So I think it's unfortunate. And but that's my perspective. We'll get to more fact oriented and evidence based or logic based rebuttals here in a second.
All right, continue.
All right. Sorry about that, man. I ain't mean to.
No, that was great. That was great. No, I loved it. It was great.
All right, cool.
That I think are some of the most brilliant Black Americans breathing. Walter Williams, Shelby Steele, Thomas Sowell. And I recently came across something that was an idea that was planted into my head by Shelby Steele. And it has been something that I cannot forget. It is something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And it is something that I hope for the Black Americans that are watching will stick with you for the rest of your life. Shelby Steele said that the Black community is unique from other communities. Our culture is unique from other communities because we are the only community that caters to the bottom denominator of our society. Now, let me explain what that means. It means to say that not every Black American is a criminal, not every Black American is committing crimes, but we are unique in that we are the only people that fight and scream and demand support and justice for the people in our community that are up to no good.
Pause.
We are pressed to find.
All right, can I share my screen?
Hey, please. Yeah, how do I remove that? There we go. Okay, we got it. Okay.
All right, so this is the quote we just heard from. Okay. Our culture is unique from other communities because we are the only community that caters to the bottom denominator of our society. Not every Black American is a criminal. Not every Black American is committing crimes, but we are unique in that we are the only people that fight and scream and demand support for the people in our community that are up to no good. Now, what she's involved in right here is a term called othering. Okay, and let me see if I get the othering. We define othering as a set of dynamics, processes, and structures that engender marginality and persistent inequality across any of the full range of human differences based on group identities. And why do we say that? Because she says our culture, meaning Black people, is unique, right? It's special. We are the only community that does this. Again, she says we are unique. So she's saying that Black people, she's othering Black people, that we are the only ones that do this.
Mm-hmm.
And to be quite honest, that is definitely not the case. And we'll get into that in a minute. But the very things that she wants to do, because she claims that she wants to bring Black people in and be inclusive to the greater aspect of what America is, she's actually doing the opposite with this statement. She is othering Black people. So
yeah. Well, and then the other problem is that just as a mode of argumentation. So one thing that we like to do is break down arguments. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just about the content of what somebody says, but it's also the way that they arrange their argument. So one thing that you really don't want to do is generally speaking, when you're making arguments, you want to avoid making only and always claims.
Right.
Then once you say only, then you set a really high bar for yourself. I'm saying such that other people, all they have to do is present a counterexample to debunk your argument. You know what I'm saying? Now, she attributed it to Shelby Steele, but she's articulated it here. Nevertheless, whoever it traces back to, you know what I'm saying, she's really hurt herself by making this only statement. Only Black people. They cater to the so-called lowest common denominator. I find it fascinating. So, I know we'll get into that in a second. You want to keep playing? Or
keep playing.
All right, cool. Y'all just keep that in mind. She's gonna, and this is the last thing too. Just as a tip, when somebody makes a mistake like that, then you want to pick up on that and you want to hold their feet to the fire, because now that they've painted themselves in a corner in a debate type situation, what you want to do is you want to hold them to that. I'm saying you want to keep going back to it and force them to have to confront their logical error. I'm saying, which we'll do here in a minute. But all right, let's go.
find, a Jewish person who has spent 5 stints in prison, who commits a crime and dies while committing a crime, and that the Jewish people champion and demand justice for. You will be hard pressed to find this in white America. You'll be hard pressed to find this even in Latino America. If there is a person that spends multiple times in prison, you are not going to see.
Pause. Hold up. So, all right, let me get to that. So,
the source is coming out.
Yeah, man, pretty much.
Bring them out.
Pretty much. Hold on. Give me a minute here. Where is it? Okay, here we go. All right. All right. Boom. I can see that. Yes, you can. Okay. So she says, we are unique in the way that we are the only people that fight and scream and demand support and justice for the people in our community that are up to no good, she said. You would be hard pressed to find a Jewish person that's been 5 stints in prison that commits a crime and dies while committing a crime, and the Jewish people champion and demand justice for. Well, there's a reason why this is not the case. Now, as you know, I am the BK apologist. That means I represent New York. It's the city. Brooklyn is the borough, right? That's my tagline. Right. And as you know, New York has one of the largest Jewish populations, and they reside mostly in my borough. So with that being said, this is a article from Ottoman, Sharon, and Rivera talking about ultra-Orthodox shun their own reporting child sexual abuse by the New York Times. And she says, according to scholars, the rate of sex abuse within Haredi communities is roughly the same as anywhere else. However, for generations, most victims have not come forward with accusations because of stigmatization from the community where they did come forward. The matter generally stayed within the community rather than being reported to the police and forming part of crime statistics. So part of the reason why you don't hear them fighting or defending people who have committed a crime is that no one actually even admits that a crime was committed within this community. But it gets worse. Rather than reporting to police, Haredim, which is the Hasidic Jews, may take a case of sexual abuse to the Shorim, a local Jewish street patrol. The Shorim keeps the names of suspected child molesters on file, but do not share them with law enforcement or take other measures to end abuse, and sometimes try to discourage people from taking a case to the police. So the Jewish people actually have their own police force, and they deal with these things within their community, and it never gets to the police. And just so you can have a better understanding, let me show you some photos here. This is the Shorim Mobile Command Center in Crown Heights Division.
Wow.
That looks, for all intent and purposes, that's a police command center.
Wow.
But you don't see NYPD on that, do you?
Nah.
That's Shorim, right?
That's kind of scary. I feel like it's kind of creepy, bro. I mean, like,
look at that
out here policing, like, on their own. It's like,
look, that looks like any average NYPD patrol car, but it's not NYPD. It's the CHVP patrolling. Okay.
Wow.
Here's one of the smaller ones that we see a lot in the city. Got the same emblem as the NYPD, but it's not the NYPD. It is the Shorim. So it's like, well, we never see this. Well, this is why you don't see it, Miss Owens. This is why you don't see it. So again, you're speaking out of ignorance, with all due respect. This is why. So you're formulating an argument and you don't know why this is the case. And it looks bad. This looks bad.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, she's really messed up. I mean, I don't know if you want to go here now, but I mean, in terms of counter examples, she says that Black people, we're unique again in that we're the only group, that caters to the lowest common denominator. Now, I see Will Notez in the chat. He's just naming out terrible and other communities. You know what I'm saying? But actually, it's funny enough. So interesting enough. So George Zimmerman. Oh shoot! I just heard some. we're talking about crime. I just heard some shots that's outside. It was fireworks.
Right.
Whoa. Anyway, anyway. Oh shoot. Anyway, so George Zimmerman, man, you know, I mean, do you know how much money he raised, you know, for his, or he was given rather for his trial? I mean, this guy was given he probably didn't have to work another day in his life. You know what I'm saying? Like he raised a lot of money. Cats rallied behind that dude, you know, and he's clearly a scumbag. You know what I mean? You know, he's marketing memorabilia, so to speak, from the murder and things of that nature, and just popping off at people. He's obviously a terrible human being. You know what I mean? But aside, you know, I just said that because somebody mentioned, you know,
right.
Zimmerman. But I want to talk about the Confederacy. Right? Because we're talking about something, you know, we're talking about current events here. Like right now, we got to talk about Robert E. Lee, right? And there's all this talk about Robert E. Lee. Now, I live about 2 hours from Richmond, Virginia, you know, where there's a lot of, you know, angst going on about taking down Robert E. Lee's statue. And I can tell you that, you know, all throughout the South, you know what I'm saying, you're going to find that. Matter of fact, I was talking to Vocab Malone the other day, and I was just sounding like when I was in school, particularly in high school, I want to say, we didn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. That's not what it said on like our school calendar. It said, you know, Lee Jackson King Day. That's what we had.
Wow.
We had Lee Jackson King Day.
Wow.
Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and then they threw MLK in there. That's what we had on January 16th.
Yeah, that's a weird correlation right there.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm saying on my way to school, right? Every day I had to ride down Route 1, which is called Jefferson Davis Highway. Mm-hmm. Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy. And to this day, his name is on that highway, Route 1, Jefferson Davis Highway, right? Again, and like I said, all throughout, you know, Richmond, you're going to find, well, you know, certain parts like downtown or whatever, you're going to find these statues to, you know, Robert E. Lee. I can talk about Fredericksburg, you know, and all the stuff that's there. I mean, you can't escape the Confederacy in the South. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing. Let me take Candace Owens off very quick. I'll do that here. Let me remove. And I'm gonna bring my let me see here. How do I do that? Okay, I'm gonna share my PowerPoint right quick.
All right. Please share the link, guys. You know, Adam's about to go in.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun, man. You know what I'm saying? So let me jump back here. We talked about this the other day. I'll get back to that in a minute. So here's a point that I made. Can they see that? Okay, cool.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So I'm only going to be in here on this page for a second. So we were talking about our response to James White the other day. I made the same argument where I was saying, you know, when we think about the Confederacy, well, who were the Confederates, right? They seceded from the Union. Now, if we take their secession on tape, I mean, I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat. Somebody said somebody on tape. I mean, if we take their secession as legitimate, then when they fought against America, they were enemies of the nation. They were an enemy nation or enemy group of people fighting against our nation. If we don't take their secession as being legitimate and just say that maybe they were just wayward Americans, and that means they were traitors, right?
Right. An act of sedition. Yes. Yeah,
it was an act of sedition. I mean, it was literally treasonous. That's what that was, right? So you got a dilemma here then. I'm saying because either they were either part of the nation or they weren't. You're either dealing with traitors or you're dealing with enemies. Now, why should we memorialize either enemies or traitors in our public spaces? Yet, all throughout America, that's what we do. You know, so when we're talking when she says that we're the only people who take the lowest common denominator and elevate them, fam, you got a whole enemy nation or enemy group of people. Like they literally waged war against the country.
And they lost. They're losers.
And they're memorialized. Not only are they memorialized all throughout the South, but you better not, you know, try to take one of those statues down, or you're going to have a whole slew of people talking about, oh, well, you know, we shouldn't tear down history, and oh, it's history, and all this kind. Oh, we shouldn't blah 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 blah. Why? They still defend these people, and it's like I said the other day. Like you get cats who get mad at Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee towards the flag when Robert E. Lee and his folks were shooting bullets at those who represented that same union during their era.
Right.
That's hypocrisy. So we're talking about the lowest. How low can it get? They literally tried to take out America. It can't get any lower than that for slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like every last one of their articles of secession mentions slavery some way, one way or the other. So how can you advocate for such a heinous cause,
Right,
fight against the nation, and yet still today be revered and commemorated in public spaces in the United States? I'm just saying. So how can we then say?
I guess we're not that special then. That's what you say. We're not that special, Adam.
Apparently not.
Right.
Apparently not. Apparently black people aren't that special. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. Phil Fox says we don't have statues of Hitler.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure of that, but you know who we have a statue of? Let me show you. Let me show you. Good segue for me, Mr. Fox. All right. All right. Does anyone know who this person is? In the chat? Anyone? Anyone? Adam will give you a cookie if you could guess who this person is.
I'll give you a piece of my pancake.
Of his pancakes. He is a iconic political figure in history. Does anyone know who this individual is? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, he's definitely a man of his era. This is true. Anyone know who this guy is? I know the chat is it lags a little bit when you see it in StreamYard, but anyone? Any guess? Right. Both Nate2D2 and Sleepy CCS. This is Vladimir Lenin. You know where this statue's at? Seattle, Washington. Okay.
Come on, man. That's crazy.
Seattle, Washington. Well, let's talk about it. Look. The statue of Lenin in Seattle is 16-foot bronze statue of communist revolutionary Vladimir Lenin, a Bulgarian sculptor Emil Yankov. It was completed and put on display by the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic in 1988, the year before the Velvet Revolution of 1989. In 1993, the statue was brought by an American who found it lying in a scrapyard. He brought it home to Washington State, but died before he can carry out his plans for displaying the Soviet-era memento. So this is a citizen of America, right? A private citizen, puts it on private property. So this is not the federal people doing it. So this makes this a person. This person had a personal affection for Vladimir Lenin. Now, just so to put it in perspective, like how crazy this dude was, right? War communism. This is something that he created. The Bolshevik revolution plunged Russia into a 3-year civil war. The Red Army, backed by Lenin's newly formed Russian Communist Party, fought the White Army, a loose correlation of monarchists, capitalists, and supporters of democratic socialism. During this time, Lenin enacted a series of economic policies dubbed war communism. These were temporary measures to help Lenin consolidate power and defeat the White Army. Under war communism, Lenin quickly nationalized all manufacturing and industry throughout Soviet Russia. He requisitioned surplus grain from peasant farmers to feed his Red Army. These measures proved disastrous. Under the new state-owned economy, both industrial and agricultural output plummeted. An estimated 5 million Russians died of famine in 1921, and living standards across Russia plunged into abject poverty.
Wow.
Right? Soon after the Bolshevik Revolution, Lenin established Cheka, which is Russia's first secret police. As the economy deteriorated during the Russian Civil War, Lenin used the Cheka to silence political oppression, both from his opponents and challengers within his own political party. The Cheka instituted a period known as the Red Terror, a campaign of mass executions against supporters of the Tsarist regime, Russia's upper classes, and any socialists who weren't loyal to Lenin's Communist Party. By some estimates, the Cheka may have executed as many as 100,000 so-called class enemies during the Red Terror between September and October 1918. A large number of Orthodox clergymen were also killed. And we get that from A Century of Violence in Soviet Russia by Alexander Yakolov. We have an actual written order from Lenin. It's known now as the hanging order. It's a name given by the U.S. Library of Congress to Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin's telegram on suppressing the Kulak revolt in the Penza Gubernia region. The telegram was addressed to Penza communist Vasily Kurayev, Penza Soviet chairman, Yevgenia Boysh, the chairwoman of Penza Gubernia Party Committee, and Alexander Minkin, the chairman of Penza Ispokum. The date, 11 August 1918. You want to know what the telegram said? Good, because we have it here.
Oh, snap.
Here's what the telegram says. Comrades, the insurrection of 5 Kokak districts should be pitilessly suppressed. The interests of the whole revolution require this because the last decisive battle with the Colossus is now underway everywhere. An example must be demonstrated. Hang, absolutely hang, in full view of the people, no fewer than 100 known Kolaks, filthy rich men, bloodsuckers. Publish their names, seize all grain from them, designate hostages in accordance with yesterday's telegram. Do it in such a fashion that for hundreds of versts around the people see, tremble, know, and shout, strangling is done and will continue for the blood-sucking Kolaks. Telegraph the receipt and the implication. Yours, Lenin. P.S. Use your toughest people for this. This is the statue.
That dude was crazy, bro.
Dude. And his statue is in Seattle, Washington. But we're unique. We're unique because we're the only ones, Adam, that prop up and pay homage to the lowest common denominator of people. But we're unique, bro.
We're unique.
Right?
Yep. Hey, check this out. I'm going to give you a list of names.
Oh,
you ready for this?
Let's go.
I'll give you a list of names.
Is it on your slide or?
You know what? I'm gonna give the list. I'm gonna give the list first, and then I'll share it.
All right.
Maybe my history buffs will know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Charles Carroll, Samuel Chase, Benjamin Franklin, Button Gwinnett, John Hancock, Patrick Henry, John Jay, Thomas Jefferson, Richard Henry Lee, James Madison, Charles Cotesworth Pinckney, Edward Rutledge, and George Washington. What ties all these names together?
Besides being white?
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that. All of these individuals were were founding fathers of this nation who owned slaves at some point. There, I think, as compared to, there was 5 other, what I won't say 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, it looks like 6 or 7 others that did not own slaves at some point. You know, so when we talk about elevating like the worst among us, you know, let's keep it real, man. Let's keep it funky. You know what I'm saying? So, first of all, what you about to say?
Yeah, I actually have somebody else I would like to show, but keep talking though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so so here's the thing. All right. So when it comes to American history, right? George, whoa, George.
Well, you know, while he's been doing, you good?
Barges in, like,
you good? You gotta take care of something?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm straight.
Okay.
Yeah, he just killed my momentum here. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I'm gearing up. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, when you think, let's keep it real. Here's the thing. Okay, now this ties together. I'm just gonna keep it real. The founding fathers, Confederacy, so on and so forth. Right? Black people in America do not have the cultural power to make the lowest among us the greatest amongst the nation.
Facts.
We're not writing the history books, okay? Because as much as George Floyd is getting esteemed now, I'm saying we're probably not going to be writing history books about that either. I'm saying there's a huge benefit when you can take people who like Thomas Jefferson, right? Who, if you want to talk about Thomas Jefferson, you also got to talk about Sally Hemings. I'm saying that the enslaved person that he had relations with, you know, for an extended period of time, even back to her youth and so forth.
Right,
so
right.
You know, you got to talk about Sally Hemings. But see, they when you're the one who's writing the story, you can just emphasize all the good parts, right? And then for an African American like myself, I grew up hearing about all the good side about America and all that kind of stuff. And so then when somebody like me comes along and starts doing research of my own, and I start challenging the propagandist narrative that people have used to prop up their self image rather than grounding it on the Imago Dei. They've been propping up this national image. You know what I'm saying, because that's how they find value and so forth. When I come along and start saying, well, no, actually, the history really records this, they think I'm coming at them. But no, right. I'm exposing you to the part of history that you weren't exposed to.
Right.
It's not my fault that your history teacher didn't tell you the whole story.
Right.
It's not my fault. It's not Kaepernick's fault that he's correct about the third stanza of the national anthem. You know what I'm saying? You can get mad at him if you want to, but it's not his fault. Go back and look at the national anthem. Right. So we have to understand is at the end of the day, what makes all the difference is that when you have amongst the white community, I'm saying when you're the dominant culture, you can write history in such a way that you make villains heroes. And then you can convince everybody else that your rendition of history is correct by only focusing on certain aspects of your history. When really, again, I'm going to take it back to the biblical worldview. I don't give two. I
didn't know that statement was part of the biblical worldview, Adam. Wow.
I'm jazzed up. I'm sorry. Look, I don't care about propping myself up on whether it be ethnic history, heritage. Look, I love being black. I'm proud of who I am, but that's not my foundation. So when I find skeletons in African American closet, okay, I don't care because that's not what holds me together. Yeah, so I have the freedom to critique my history and heritage because I'm not bound to it. I'm saying I'm not. It's not my foundation.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is people who can't do that with America, I think it's because they don't have the freedom to do so. They're bound by their nationalistic inclinations. And so at the end of the day, we can go all throughout American history. Y'all want to talk about your boy Abraham Lincoln, the great liberator, but you don't want to talk about the guy who did not believe that Africans were equal. It's the same dude. It's the same dude. Y'all don't want to talk about that.
And speaking of dudes that feel that way,
come on, man.
If you look at the screen, we have Roger Taney. Now, who's Roger Taney, right? Well, Roger Taney, 6 years before the Emancipation Proclamation, the U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice wrote in Dred Scott v. Sanford that no slave or descendants of slaves, freed or not, could be acknowledged as part of the people. Slaves were property, he ruled. And thus the Fifth Amendment barred courts from freeing them. A statue of Roger Taney was removed from Maryland State House in Annapolis, thank you, in 2017. This man in the highest court in the country said that black people were property, not humans, not the Imago Dei, property. And they said this was great, so much so, let's make a statue in honor of this man.
Right.
Now, yeah, they removed it, but when? 2017. But here's another iconic American figure by the name of Kate Smith. Right? Now, why is she such a big deal? She was known as the first lady of radio. But the Philadelphia Flyers and New York Yankees no longer played her rendition of God Bless America at their games. The controversy stems from two songs in her catalog, Pickaninny Heaven, in which she sang, great big watermelons roll around and get in your way in Pickaninny Heaven. And another that included the lyrics, someone had to pick the cotton, someone had to pick the corn. Someone had to slave and be able to sing, and that's why darkies were born. They thought that was hot bars. Let's get a statue of this lady.
Wow.
Because she's spitting.
Bars. Wow.
She's spitting. So
Man.
Let's get a statue. Now they took her statue down too, but they made a statue. They thought what she was saying was so important and so amazing. We need to honor her with a statue.
Right. I don't mean to laugh, man. They're killing me in the chat right now, bro. They're killing me.
Sandwiches.
Askia Jones is killing me right now. I'm jazzed up, man. I'm sorry, man, because listen. At the end of the day, I keep saying it, man. Like when I talk about true ID, I'm serious about that. You know what I'm saying? And when I see people, look, when it comes to Hebrew Israelites, when their identity claim, Comedics or whatever, I say it all the time. I got apologetics for that. And when it comes to nationalism and a wrong understanding of one's history that people are basically making an idol rather than the Imago Dei, I keep the same energy. You know I'm saying with America, I do the same thing. This is just me being consistent. You know what I'm saying? That's at the end of the day. And so again, you know, when you're the one writing, when you're in the driver's seat to write the history books, you can make it, you know, you can downplay slavery. You can talk about how much progress we made, which I believe we have made progress. There's no doubt about that. You know what I'm saying? But you can downplay all that kind of stuff. Shoot, let's keep it funky. What about your boy Ronald Reagan?
The great communicator? The great communicator?
Oh, yeah, the great communicator. You know what I'm saying? Which maybe about 5-6 months ago, they released some tapes with him and Richard Nixon where Ronald Reagan referred to Africans as monkeys and said they had just gotten comfortable wearing shoes, and him and Nixon had a great big laugh about it. That was Ronald Reagan. You know what I'm saying? That's the Gipper. That's y'all boy, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, I don't see anybody, you know, demoting him. Like, I mean, nobody's seems to have a problem esteeming him still. He's still like the Michael Jordan or Dr. J, I guess, of conservatism. I mean, we can do this all day, man. We can do this all day, because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, to undermine her claim, it's not true that only Black people are the ones that esteem, you know, or however she put it. Now, I will say this, in the interest of being completely fair, you know what I'm saying, I do believe that we should be careful in who we esteem. You know what I'm saying? George Floyd and the cause that he represents, I'm with it. I mean, as far as in terms of him being emblematic of addressing police misconduct, you know, I support that. R. Kelly, you know, what I mean, I'm you know, we're not gonna make it. You know, we're not gonna make R. Kelly, you know, Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no. We had to be selective. I say R. Kelly because there's a episode I'm saying where they were kind of bringing up this issue as well. Yeah, it's just fresh in my mind. So I mean, of course, I mean, yeah, there needs to be distinctions. You know what I'm saying, but she's just really missed the mark here in terms of misconstruing what it is that people are, you know, believe Floyd to be emblematic of, and then B, you know, just saying that that we're unique and we're the only ones that do this. Her and Shelby Steele, who she quoted, you know, if she quoted Shelby Steele correctly on that, they're both it's demonstrably false. It is obviously false. You know, so there we go.
So you want to go back to the video?
Oh yeah, it's up to you, man. I know you have some more slides on that.
Well, she needs to say a few more things. Then we'll
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take this part off here. Yeah, let me take that out. Oh, they're killing me in this chat, man. That's hilarious, bro. Okay. All right. Can you see that?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right.
A bunch of Latinos coming out demanding.
Pause.
For this person.
You know, pause.
Uh-oh.
I didn't even like the way she said that. I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. Bunch of Latinos. I didn't feel that. I feel some sort of way now. I didn't catch that.
Coming for you, dog.
Bunch of really? With such disdain in her voice. The Latinos. Yo, I didn't catch that before. That's crazy.
No, she's saying that y'all don't esteem. Now I got to come for y'all right quick, man. I got to come for y'all right quick. She's saying that Latinos don't. I guess I think she's making the point that they don't, you know, esteem theirs or something like that.
That we don't do it.
You know what's funny? Let me play that back because listen to what she said. Watch this. Hold up. Actually, I caught this before. Check this out.
Is spent multiple times in prison. You are not going to see a bunch of Latinos coming out demanding justice for this person, even if, and I want to be very clear, what I'm saying is not any defense for Derek Chauvin.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I think there's something else you said, but I think that's at a different point. I'll come back to it.
I feel some type of way.
I want to say this though. You know what I'm saying? As far as Latinos now, come on, bro. Cheech and Chong, bro. Come on, man. Y'all was esteeming some weed smoke, some weed hairs, man. You know what I'm saying?
We're not innocent from this. No,
bro. Come on, man.
We're not innocent from this even. Nah, bro. Come on.
Yeah, man. What's that? Hey, why is it escaping me now? What's it called? Hill, that rap group.
Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill, man. Come on, bro. Y'all in it just like we are, bro.
No, I'm not listening at all. It's that, but she is though, right? She's othering. You know, she's really going hard. Like, well, you know, the Latinos are not like us. The whites are not. We're special because we're the only ones, right? So, yeah. But Latinos.
Here's the thing. Like, so what we have to ask ourselves though, because right now we're dealing with Candace Owens, right? But what we have to ask ourselves, like, what is it that she's saying that resonates with so many people, right? because the people that she's talking to that have imbibed her rhetoric, that sounds plausible to them. Like,
yes.
you know, she's saying that only black people do this, and she's talking about it, and you have scores of people like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it sounds
well,
about
it's plausible because it's coming from a black face. Because people have thought that, but she breathes it to life. And since she's a black person doing it, then there's some validity to what I was thinking. Because if my thinking was wrong, no black person would say it. But lo and behold, we have a black person saying what I was thinking. So I must be correct.
You know what? Now, this is interesting. Now, this is an interesting point. I don't want to spend too much time. I know we got a lot of bars to get to.
Right.
This is an interesting point. So when it comes, and this is something that we should all be careful of.
Right.
I think this is a learning moment. Okay. I'm thinking about two things. Candace Owens is seen as being someone who goes against the grain, and she's a truth teller, right? That's what she's seeing. She goes against the grain because obviously she's coming at the black community, and she's a truth teller. Right. Now, for one, I think actually, let me put it this way. She goes against the grain. She's considered to be a truth teller. And then actually 3, she's saying things that reaffirm what folks already believe. I'm saying, who are not of our community. First of all, just because somebody says something that resonates with you doesn't mean it's true. You know what I'm saying? Even when you encounter somebody who you find yourself in agreement with quite a bit, and they say a lot of things that resonate with you, you still need to make sure, just as in terms of being a critical thinker, you need to do your due diligence to make sure that you're not just vibing with them because maybe they're communicating like certain undertones or certain values that you rock with, but the content of what they're saying, the logic of what they're saying is actually legitimate. I'm saying just because you're in agreement with that person, or maybe they're hitting certain high notes that you agree with, you still shouldn't shut your brain off and then just accept everything else that they have to say. You need to be careful to be a consistent critical thinker, not just, something. The
Latino, that got me a little tight. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. And then 2, what do you do with somebody who's propped himself up as being a truth teller and they're not telling the truth? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you then? Because we just demonstrated that her argumentation sucks. I mean, like she painted herself in the corner and she's not meeting that. Right. So now the question becomes, what do you do with that? Now it seems to me that you would need to reappraise however much you found yourself in agreement with her before. Now, out of intellectual honesty, you need to now reappraise her in terms of whether or not she's a reliable source of information or argumentation. Right. That's what you should do as a critical thinker.
Right. Absolutely.
All right.
Let's keep going. Latinos. Man, listen.
That he deserves to be, implemented upon him, and that the family of George Floyd deserves justice for the way that he died. But I also am not going to accept the narrative that this is the best the Black community has to offer.
Pause.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Pause. Let me see. Do I have that? Let me see if I got that quote. Hold on.
Stop. You want me to stop sharing?
Yeah. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have that here? Yes. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we might have to park on this one a little.
Hey.
She said, but I also am not going to accept the narrative that this is the best the Black community has to offer. What? Who said we was offering George Floyd?
Nobody. What narrative is that?
So you're saying that we should pick a better Negro to be killed in cold blood by a white officer? Is that what she's saying here? You said we manslaughtered wholesale the wrong Black guy. What we need to do is get a good 35-year-old Black graduate from Harvard with 2.5 kids, with a beautiful wife, living in the suburbs, who is conservative and just a great guy. He pays his taxes on time, and then let's kill him. Let's kill that one. Now we're talking.
Right.
Now we talk. Really?
Right.
So he's a sacrifice? You're saying like we should kill better Black men?
Right.
Like, I don't understand this.
That's wild, man. That's crazy. I mean, it's this. So here's the thing. So hyperbole. This is another thing people have to watch out for. I'm saying, watch out for hyperbole, right? It's obviously not the case. Like nobody's going around suggesting that George Floyd is the best that the Black community has to offer. But I think that when you utilize hyperbole like that, you know what I'm saying, and they're kind of sarcastic, it creates space for the illogical arguments, you know what I'm saying, that you're making to have some validity. You know what I'm saying? It's like sleight of hand. It's like that shell game, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of what that is. I'm saying nobody is saying that, the narrative that George Floyd.
Who concocted the narrative? What narrative she's talking about?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about. By saying that the person is a good dude. That's about as much as I've seen people say is he was a good dude. I mean, that he was up to he was a good guy or something like that. That's the most I've seen people say. Maybe she's seen otherwise, whatever. What I can say is I don't know where she's getting that from as far as people saying that he's the best the Black community has to offer. I don't know. But funny enough, actually,
yeah, go ahead.
With LeBron James, I'm saying now, I'm not saying he's the best either, but he's a guy that came from what I understand to be humble beginnings. You know what I'm saying? He's married. He's obviously done well for himself, sports wise and in business. He started a school and so on and so forth. And they still spray painted the N-word on his property. You know what I'm saying? So whether you're the best or not, that doesn't exempt you from the kinds of things that people are really concerned about. And we don't need somebody who's the best of us, to suffer at the hands of some races in order for there to be some legitimate point.
I mean, it's a little like sadistic,
Crazy, man.
We need a better Black victim.
Right.
George Floyd sucked as a Black victim. We need a better one. Like, right. What?
Right.
Yeah, I find that very, very problematic. So
yeah.
Anyway. So, but
I don't know, man. But again, like nobody's saying that, and I think I want people to be reflective. I'm saying, like, if you think that what she had to say was plausible, reasonable, or anything like that, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, do you think that people have painted this narrative that George Floyd was the best, thing in the Black community? And if you reflect on that and recognize that that's not the narrative that anybody's putting out, now then take that back to what Candace Owens is saying and reflect on it. But dag, you know what? Maybe I had some predispositions that led me to,
right.
Be in agreement with Candace Owens, but upon further reflecting on it, I realized that she's obviously wrong, and then make some intelligent decisions, right? You know what I'm saying? Make some intelligent decisions. Now I will say this. Now this is very important. This is very important. Okay, narratives do matter, right? Narratives do matter, and I do think that there are times when the Black community has a tendency to be loud about our personal value and so on and so forth. And I want to say something, real quick to kind of give voice to as to why. It's because for the vast majority of America's history, going even back to the colonial period, the value of Black life has been just disregarded. You know what I'm saying? We've been told that Black is not beautiful, that we're not intelligent. All we're good for is in the words of
Biggie,
Laura Ingraham, shut up and I'm saying just shut up and dribble. That's what we've been told by the broader society. And so, yeah, there are times when, as a matter of personal dignity, we are going to be loud about our own personal dignity. We feel that it's been infringed upon in the case of George Floyd. Then, this is an occasion in which the people are saying, hey, no, there's this Black dignity that needs to be affirmed. Narratives do matter, because guess what? Before you had 6 million Jews being gassed over there in Germany, there was this progression of a changing of the narrative, such that by the time Hitler proposed the final solution, the narrative was already in place in the German society that made the Holocaust a plausible idea. Right. You don't just get there overnight. So yeah, narratives do matter. I'm saying it's very important that people be loud about that. I'm saying, right. So that's why, yeah, you know what? I'm be honest with you. Sometimes there's some cases where something happens. I'm like, yeah, maybe there's some wrongdoing there or not. I don't know. But nevertheless, there needs to be a constant reminder to American society that Black lives matter. I'm saying that sentiment. If you don't like the organization, fine. I'm just talking about, just that sentiment. You have to at least ask yourself, for those who are clamoring about the organization, hey, look, they rock. They stand for some things that I'm totally against, and I understand why people don't rock with them. I totally get that. However, you have to ask yourself, why is it that phrase Black Lives Matter resonates with so many people? It's because it's attached to a reality and something that people recognize needs to be said. I'm saying just acknowledge that. I'm saying, and roll with that. Anyway, we can get back to the video.
Yeah, let's go.
Over the last 5 or 6 years for us to turn criminals into heroes overnight. And it is something that I find to be despicable, and it's something that I refuse to stand by any longer. And I'm not going to play a part in it, no matter how much pressure comes from Black liberals and Black conservatives as some token of people wanting you to believe that this is the only way you can be Black, is you have to say this was wrong and that this person was amazing. I won't do that. George Floyd was not an amazing person. And as soon as this video hit the internet, I did just basic searches. Everyone jumped on it and was looking at the police officer, and everyone agrees that the police officer was wrong and the police officer has been arrested. So that is not the reason I'm not discussing that, is because that is not something that has been misconstrued in the media. He has been turned into the devil that he is, and there is no reason for us to harp on that any longer, because white Americans are not uplifting Derek Chauvin as a victim or pretending that he's an amazing human being.
You can pause that.
Yeah, okay. Right. Well, I just had a quick point, if I can make it real quick. I can get out. So I think she misunderstands something. Like when she says that everybody's in agreement that Derek Chauvin is the devil that he is, and there's no reason to talk about it further because he's been arrested and so forth. See, I think she's really flattening the whole event here that's going on, is because we have to understand that he wasn't arrested for like 3 or 4 days, right? I'm saying, and so that's why you have all these riots and stuff going on, is because you had a dude that killed somebody, murdered somebody in broad daylight, right? And cats are just chilling. He's chilling at the crib for like 3 or 4 days before he's arrested.
Right.
That's the issue.
And if he's the devil, why she's not doing an 18-minute video on the devil?
Yeah, why not?
Because clearly you're saying that what he did was evil. So should we condemn the evil? But then she does something else. Like, well, everyone knows, right, that he's the devil. That's problematic from a theological perspective, right? Because in the biblical worldview, we believe in objective morality, right? We believe that something is right or wrong, regardless of the popular consensus, right? But she's saying, well, everyone understands this to be true, therefore it is. That is not a biblical worldview. So her orthodoxy is, I have to call it into question now because of the statement. Yeah,
and actually, and maybe people correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's a video where she claimed, I don't know if she's a Christian or not. I mean, I keep being told that, and so I'm not trying to like I said earlier. I guess I talked about her not adhering to the biblical worldview. You know what I'm saying? But to your point though. She's saying, well, yeah, everybody agrees on it. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's wrong whether everybody agrees on it or not. I mean, that's obviously true. You know what I'm saying? And from a biblical standpoint, but nevertheless, when you're talking about this issue here, like I'm not certain as to why she feels okay, we can just disregard that. Right. I mean, or like why she felt like, okay, well, everybody agrees on it. I guess maybe she feels like it's a done deal or something. I don't know where.
My thing is, making a concession is not the same as having a conviction.
That's good.
That's good. She's like, okay, well, since everybody says it is, I guess I should go. That's not a conviction. That's a concession. If you're claiming to be a Christian, if she is making that claim, then you also subscribe to the biblical worldview, where there are a particular conviction that right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of the situation, people, and places that these things occurred in. So she's making concessions, not conviction.
Well, and I think is because she's chasing ghosts right now. You know what I'm saying? Like she's chasing this ghost that Black people are making a martyr, or she says she's a Christian. Okay, all right. Well, I hope she is. I hope she knows the Lord. I do. Definitely be praying for her. But anyway, it's that first step. I'm saying, like, once she takes that first step, gets off on the wrong foot, if you will. Right. It's all downhill from there. You know what I'm saying? Because you're saying that, you're taking this stand, I guess, against Black people idolizing or, martyring or whatever, such and such. Okay, well, do that. I mean, are you going to keep that consistent? Are you going to do that with everybody? Are you going to call white people out when they do that? Or like, what are we going to do here? Matter of fact, me and you, we just did a breakdown the other day with the miseducated, the first version, you know, where
Yes.
we were dealing with
Right.
her thing about John, was it John Smith? I get John Smith and John Rolfe mixed up.
Right. And Pocahontas.
John Smith.
Right.
Pocahontas. I mean, you know, he really was an evil dude. I mean, this man said, you know, yeah, we should have enslaved them all. This man said it in his own memoirs. I'm saying he really was doing ill stuff, you know what I'm saying, and many others as well. I mean, but she seemed to not have a problem with that. You know, she's not going back in his history and critiquing him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So because, or calling white people out for doing so.
Right.
Actually, her argument was the opposite. She was saying, well, we need to not be worried about that. Just, you know, or something like that, she said.
Right.
Just, you know, inconsistency breeds more inconsistency. And I think that, you know, she's just not, I don't want to disparage her as an individual, but she's not very careful, you know, I think.
Right. And again, having the platform, the large platform that she has, taking these miscues and saying things out of ignorance, and just it's bad. It's just really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's compelling, but it's bad. I'm saying,
Right.
if you're somebody who's inclined to believe what she's saying, the kind of the narrative that she's, you know, and that's another thing. Like there's not just one narrative. I mean, she's presenting, you know, something that could be construed as part of a broader narrative as well. You know, so like people just throw that word around, the narrative. Well, she's got a narrative too that she's feeding into.
Right.
The question is, we need to question her narrative or the narrative that she's contributing to. Is it true that people are creating a martyr and so forth out of George Floyd? Is it true that Black people are the only ones that do that? If not, if neither of those are true, then her whole video is done. Like that's the whole premise of the video, supposedly. And her whole video is premised on two falsehoods. Right?
She got two dancing straw men.
Just, you know, straight, you know, Pinocchio with it, you know what I mean, or whatever. You know, that's what she's doing. So I mean, what you know, we'll get to the rest of it, but I'm just saying, thus far, both of her main arguments are premised on two falsehoods. It's not true that Black people are unique and that we're the only ones who esteem the lowest common denominator, and it's not true that, you know, there's some narrative where we're making, you know, George Floyd,
Right.
You know, Luke Skywalker or something, whatever.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Lifted as an amazing human being. And for those of you who have not yet seen the clips and did not pursue or wait for more clips to come out, first and foremost, George Floyd at the time of his arrest was high on fentanyl and he was high on methamphetamine. This came back in both of his autopsy reports. If you pursue the 911 transcript, you can see the person describing somebody who is out of their mind high, and which is what made the person fearful, because he tried to, you know, to use a bill that I guess was
Actually, pause it.
Something, and then he was outside acting.
So we have someone who, in her words, was high out of his mind, and then we have the devil, right? Who should we focus on?
Right. Yeah.
Because she called him the devil. That's not my words. That's her words. But she wants to focus more on the guy who's. Well, anyway, I just want to throw it up. Continue.
Right. You know what? All right. I'm gonna continue for right now. Something just occurred to me, and I'm gonna come back to it.
All right, cool.
All right.
Weird, and they, in their police call, said that this person was obviously distorted and on drugs. When he is put into handcuffs and is put against the wall, a baggie of what looks to be like cocaine or it's white. It's a white baggie that he drops onto the floor that you can see in an image. If you look up the clip, the media is refusing to circulate it. You can find it on Twitter. If you use DuckDuckGo and look up George Floyd baggie, you can watch the clip yourself with your own eyes. He had drugs on him at the time of his arrest. Now, barring all of that, nobody thinks that he should have died during this arrest. But what I find despicable to be is that everyone is pretending that this man lived a heroic lifestyle when he didn't. And I want to talk about what his lifestyle was leading up to this moment, and why I refuse to accept the narrative that this person is a martyr or should be lifted up in the Black community, and that we should be buying T-shirts with his name on it. Okay. So here we have first.
From the I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Hold up.
I'm removing everything. Yeah, you better go for it.
Yep. Right. So for whatever reason, it became fashionable over the last 5 or 6 years for us to turn criminals into heroes overnight. It is something I find despicable. George Floyd was not an amazing person. George Floyd is being upheld as an amazing human being. Owens alleged that Floyd was high at the time of his death, and pointed to his criminal history. Floyd's criminal past included 5 years behind bars for robbery and assault. Quote, "We shouldn't be buying T-shirts with his name on it," she said. He was a violent criminal, right? So only black people buy T-shirts with black criminals on it, right? Is that what it's saying? Because, you know, white people wouldn't be caught dead, you know, wearing, you know, Bonnie and Clyde T-shirts, right?
Oh,
they wouldn't do that, right? White people wouldn't buy and sell, you know, Helter Skelter Charles Manson T-shirts looking like the Messiah, as people like to paint him as.
Wow.
With "I am here to do the devil's work," right? White people would never do that.
Wow.
You know, white people wouldn't buy and wear T-shirts with Jeffrey Dahmer's image on it, with the quote, "But if we shouldn't eat them, why are they made out of meat?" Right? Having fun with Mr. Dahmer.
Wow.
You know, oh, how about this? How about this T-shirt that says "Criminal All-Star of Belle Guinness, who killed up to 15 men for their insurance"? White people won't wear that person's face, right?
Come on, bro.
Oh, what about John Wayne Gacy, who was charged with committing 33 murders? And his one T-shirt saying he's the original entertainer. Gacy, 94, baseball T-shirt. Wear that for your next company softball team. See how that goes.
Right.
And of course, we couldn't finish this out without, you know, the man, right? Hitler. How fortunate for leaders that men do not think. WWHD, what would Hitler do? So again, we're not special. Like, we're not the only people that might put questionable black people on T-shirts. Like, these are all heinous, vile, evil white folk on T-shirt, and they're being sold on the internet. So hold that.
We're talking about hold that entire L. The entire throwing out L. I'm talking about her. I thought you were going to put it, but Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, talk about. You can
find Marilyn Monroe T-shirts all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Marilyn Monroe died of a drug overdose. We know that she was a substance abuser. I'm saying Candace Owens was about to go in on George Floyd substance abuse. Marilyn Monroe to this day is considered to be like an old, you know, OG, you know, symbol of beauty,
American icon.
American icon. She died of a drug overdose. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's again, black people. Oh, Manny Viz, Scarface. You can't go nowhere without seeing a Scarface
T-shirt, right.
T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just what it is, bro. You know. So anyway, man, these cats, it's just crazy, man. Once you again, inconsistency breeds more inconsistency.
What about my bosses? Yeah, absolutely.
For example, thank you, Phil Fox. Now, I know this is going to sound like mad, like, you know, racist or something like that. But I mean, I could be wrong. But when I think about movies, it's as far as I can tell, I mean, it seems like 90% of the time where Italians are in movies, it's like a mob joint.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like that's it seems predominant to me. I could be wrong. I'm saying, but they're regularly featured in mob movies. You know, right? Yeah, Elvis too. Yep, he took. You know, I mean, you know, he died. I think it was on a toilet stool or something like that. You know.
Yeah, of a drug overdose. Yeah.
You know. I mean that's everybody. What's his name? Matthew McConaughey just dropped a movie maybe a month or two ago. You know what I'm saying? It was basically a mafia movie. You know, where he was with the Irish mafia, if I'm not mistaken. You know, they kind of chronicled that. I mean,
right.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time. The Godfather, please.
But Adam, we're unique. Bro.
We're unique.
We're unique. We are the only community that does this stuff, bro.
Bro, The Godfather is an American classic. I mean, as far as cinema is concerned,
yeah.
Right. It's right up there with like right behind maybe Rocky, Star Wars, and Indiana Jones. You know what I'm saying? It's in that stratosphere.
It's iconic.
It's iconic, right? Silence of the Lambs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, they made a whole thing out of that. You know, as creepy as it was.
Right.
Anyway, I can keep going, man. But anyway, you know.
Psycho, that's based off a real dude.
True, yeah, true.
Psycho is based off a real dude.
Right. But we're the only ones, though.
We're unique. We're unique, Adam.
We're unique, you know. Right. And you know what? Let me. You know, here's what I'm not trying to say. I'm not trying to say that black people don't wrongly esteem people at times.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
Right.
People can check my catalog. I've been talking about the problems with the hip hop genre. You know what I'm saying? I've been talking about that for years now. So I'm not trying to say that we don't do it. What I'm trying to say is let's not have unequal scales. That's what I'm trying to say.
Keep that same energy.
And keep the same energy. Saying like we're not going to misrepresent things to suit a particular narrative. That's what we're not going to do. Right.
Right. Continue.
All right.
Record. And by the way, I am not saying that if you have a record, you don't deserve a second chance. I think people get arrested, and some people can serve time in prison. And I believe in second chances, but I do draw the line when it comes to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth chances. 1998, he spent.
You know what? Actually, let me say something about that too, because I mean, so now somebody in the chat said that she does claim to be a Christian. I don't like what she just articulated. She said that you might have second chances. She said, I don't know if I believe in 5th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th chances. As a
Jesus does. Jesus definitely does.
Right. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't see how who are you to draw that line, right? Now, there's one thing where we can say that, like when it comes to trust or something like that, like if you've stolen from me like 5 times, then no, I'm not going to give you a job working my cash register or something like that. I mean, that's a matter of trust or something like that. When we're talking about value, right? Or when we're talking about, somebody's, worthiness of I don't know, being, whatever she believes that he's being, that, I mean, basically, I think it boils down to value. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't make that call. We can't make that call. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Jesus talks about forgiveness, if somebody sins against me, I'm supposed to forgive them 70 times 7 or 70 times 70 or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, but when it comes to 1 Corinthians 13 comes to mind. We are to bear all things it talks about. You know what I'm saying? We are to think the best of people, so on and so forth.
With Miss Owens, you get 2 strikes. And you're out.
She's a Christian. So as a Christian, I don't like, what does it mean to say, well, I don't believe in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th chances? Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Come on, man.
But again, right? Forgiveness is the way you get admitted into Christianity. Is through forgiveness. There's no other way to get in unless you are forgiven by God, right? And then the same, Jesus teaches, right? The same measure you use will be used onto you, right? So you're saying 2 strikes, you're out. Well, guess what, Miss Owens? I don't know how many strikes you have, but
I don't know.
But the reason why we bring this up, because if your orthodoxy is somewhat off kilter, then your orthopraxy definitely will be. Right? That's why we have to highlight that, because that is very problematic for her to execute an appropriate walk with God if your foundation is faulty.
Right. So. Right. And again, I'm not saying like legally. Yeah, I mean, you may have a 3-strike situation, or legally there can be implications. That's not what I'm talking about. But what she's talking about is value. You know what I'm saying? What she's talking about is how somebody should be. How should we view this person? You know what I'm saying? That's what she's talking about. And we just don't get a chance to make that call. Then somebody, a righteous man falls how many times and gets back up again? I mean, like that's in the Bible.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't get a chance to make that call on somebody else's walk like that. You know what I'm saying? We can just kind of assess where they are and then go from there. All right, here we go. And we'll come back to that point as well. Assessing where they are. All right.
10 months in prison for theft with a firearm. That was the first prison stint that I could find on him. In 2002, he spent 8 months in prison for a cocaine offense. In 2004, just 2 years later, he spent another 10 months in prison for a cocaine offense. In 2005, he spent another 10 months in prison for having less than 1 gram of cocaine on him again. In 2007, and this was the biggest instant that I had that made me realize this was a horrible human being that I am not going to pretend was a good person.
Pause.
2005, a woman who was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we get to hear all the violations the cop made too? Do we get to hear that? We don't get to hear his record? Because he's the devil, right? According to her, he's the devil. The devil should have a rap sheet too, right?
Mm-hmm.
He must have some previous indiscretions. We don't get to hear that in the video, though, right?
Nah,
oh, okay. I'm just asking. I'm just asking. All right, continue.
Right.
And received a knock at the door. And she went to the door, and the person pretended to be someone that worked for the water department. So she opened her door and quickly realized that the person at her door did not work for the water department and attempted to slam it. At the moment that she was attempting to slam it, a Ford pulled up and another 5 men jumped out of the car, and one of which was George Floyd, came up to the door, and they forced their way inside to her home. Inside of her home. Mind you, this woman is pregnant. At that point, George Floyd took out a gun and pressed it to her stomach as she was screaming, begging for her life, and he put her inside of her living room and instructed one of his criminal friends that was with him to watch her and to make sure she didn't leave the living room. So he was playing guard while they ransacked her home looking for drugs and money. They did not find drugs. They ended up taking, I believe, her wallet and her cell phone. Fortunately for her, her neighbor observed what was going on and caught the license plate of the people as they pulled off and called 911. And when 911 was able to, they were able to track down the car of which George Floyd was the driver, and they arrested him. And 2 years later, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for that instance. Now, you can say the media is portraying it like he was just getting his life together after, being released in 2014 following that incident. He was just getting his life together and moved and was going to start afresh. I'd like to believe all of those things, and there's a gap, and he never got in trouble for 5 years until this incident when the police were called on him. But you are
okay. So, all right. One thing here, and this is not just for Miss Owens, but a lot of people, when a unarmed black man or woman gets killed by an officer, we know the routine already. They go back and look for previous indiscretions of this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, without them saying, what they're inferring is because of their past sins, that somehow, I guess, these sins caught up to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not a biblical worldview, but it is a Near Eastern worldview, right? And the term for this is karma.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what she's inferring is that karma finally got to him. But just for black people, though, right? There's this black karma. And I'm like, this is not a biblical worldview.
Yeah, it's tragic because, in terms of her words, well, so first of all, another thing too, we got to think about, it just occurred to me just now, is that we have to basically she presupposes that the metric by which we are to assess George Floyd is his rap sheet. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the lens through which we are to view the person. Now here's my thing. I've heard otherwise. I've heard that the man I talked about earlier, he was, apparently giving his life to Christ, and he had done some good things, for some churches in the neighborhood, helping them to do some things like that. I've heard counter. Now, here's the thing. How am I to assess George Floyd? Now, I don't know the man, right? I don't know. So at best, we could just say, well, we'll just be agnostic in terms of, where he really was. We don't, we can just say she doesn't know him either, right?
But she doesn't consider that 5-year gap where, I heard that he turned his life around, and there's nothing, I can't tell because there's no crime sheet for those 5 years.
Right.
So,
Well,
but she doesn't consider that at all.
Well, and that's the thing is that, now it does appear, if she's correct, then it appears that George Floyd had a drug problem. And, it seems like his offenses, seem to be tied to that. I mean, he sounds like he was doing, the kinds of things that people do when they have a drug problem.
Right.
So if he had some sort of, drug problem that persisted, on, then that's very unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. What is fortunate is that from a biblical perspective, I'm saying, I'm glad God is not just judging us based on the wrongs that we do. I'm saying there's a counterbalance, I'm saying, and it's not like this works-based type of thing. I'm saying, and if he really did commit himself to Christ, then in the eyes of God, he's with him right now. Now, as far as temporally, I don't know his heart. I don't, neither does she. But what I do know is that people aren't responding to this situation the way that they're responding to it based on a moral assessment of George Floyd. They're responding to a moral assessment of what happened to George Floyd. It was morally reprehensible the way that he was killed. That's why you have this outpouring of, whatever you want to call it, and that George Floyd is emblematic of. It's a moral assessment of how his life was snuffed out, how an image bearer, somebody who's made an image of God, their life was taken. That's what this is about. So again, I feel like she's missing the target. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else is shooting over here and she's over there misconstruing the target. And it's like that's not what this is about. At the end of the day, but coming back to my point, like why should we accept her premise then, or her the foundation of our argument that the proper way to view George Floyd is through the lens of his legal history. You know what I'm saying? I would say that she would have to at least grant the possibility that there are other aspects of his life, you know what I'm saying, but other people may be privy to. And let's call it a draw and say, well, let's just be agnostic about, what the man was in terms of his character. And yet still we can focus on, the tragedy that happened here and the implications thereof.
But if she's gonna do that, if she's gonna look at his past to gauge his final outcome, why don't we do the same with the police officer and look at his past, 14, 17 violations, and do the same? Now, it's still wrong, right? But if you're going to really do it that way, you got to do it to both, especially since the other guy is the devil, in your words, right? So,
right. And I mean, we'll see what she says in a second. But again, it sounds if she's correct about what he did, then that's terrible. I don't know anybody who would hear that and be like, yeah, man, that's what's up. You know what I mean? Like, right. Yeah, nobody hears that. It's like, man, that's a terrible thing. But it's just like, that's not what we're talking about right now. And put it this way. So put it this way for people who might disagree with me on that point. So let's say we're talking about police brutality, right? Inevitably people will say, well, what about black on black crime, right? Because they believe that black on black crime is a more imminent problem, you know what I'm saying, or a bigger problem than police brutality, right? So they say, what about black on black crime, right? So in the same way, she's trying to draw attention to his past and which she believes to be a unqualified, esteeming of this person. And we're like, fam, like, what about the murder though? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the bigger issue here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's just, to put in those terms, even if you're going to accept that logic, which she's going to do here later on, which is why I brought it up, then apply it here and say, well, let's deal with the bigger problem. The man was murdered unnecessarily, and it took him 3 or 4 days to arrest the guy. For her, she would just need to keep it consistent.
The devil. It took him that long to get the devil.
Definitely. Right. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Bro, we're supposed to do like an hour, man. I don't know.
We lied. We lied to us. We lied to ourselves.
We lied to ourselves. We keep doing this, bro. We keep doing this. All right, here we go.
Defying common sense to believe that this person suddenly became an exemplary character, but happened to be high on fentanyl and methamphetamine, and trying to use a bill, a big bill to purchase something. And so, in my opinion, George Floyd was a criminal. He was a criminal, and just because he was a criminal doesn't mean
Pause.
that.
Yeah.
Pause. Everyone in America is afforded due process.
Oh, you beat me to it. Yeah.
Right? He was to be arrested because he allegedly committed a crime.
Right. We don't know.
You go to a court and you argue to see whether or not he is a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At this point, it is alleged. So she's already just passed judgment on this dude.
Yeah, we don't know. As far as the $20 bill, I don't know.
Right. So
we don't know. Yeah.
We don't know. We're not going to know.
Yeah, apparently. Because, well, I'll leave that alone. Here we go.
Me of a police officer, but it does mean that I am not going to play a part of the broken Black culture that always wants to martyr criminals, who wants to pretend they were these upstanding human beings that just wanted to help society, that just wanted to reach out and uplift society. And
I guess again, the Black community that always wants to martyr criminals. Is that really true? Like, I mean, think about it. Again, you know, I just want to push back against those people who swear that she's killing the game, you know, with this rant here. Ask the question. Was Phil Fox got me again or something? Or like,
yeah, he said, when you two get together, it's 2 hours minimum.
That's probably right. That's probably right. But you know, when you make arguments, you know, I'm just thinking about argumentation. Only and always. You want to stay away from those words. You know what I'm saying? Is it really true that black people always esteem criminals? Is that really true? Come on.
That's called a sweeping generalization.
Yeah, the sweeping is
fallacious.
Yeah, all black people do that. I mean, of course not. Well, all black people don't do that. But let's say that, you know, in every instance, is that really the case? Come on, man. Come on, man. You know, I mean, now again, if it's just casual talk amongst friends, maybe you can get away with stuff like that. But when you have a public platform, you should be sharper. Yep. You should communicate your point sharper than that. This is what it is. But I think again, she uses hyperbole to try to strengthen her points when actually it weakens her point because she paints herself in a corner, and anybody can just bring a counter argument and demonstrate how her statement is false. All right.
Has a rap sheet that is long, that is dangerous. He was an example of a violent criminal his entire life. Okay.
Now wait a minute. Wait a minute. Again,
not the last 5 years.
Right. Come on, man. Like, see, this is what you see. When again, there's that hyperbole. See, he was an example of a criminal his entire life. Now, mind you, she only cited 2 violent incidences. She cited, you know, a theft at gunpoint, and she cited the one where I guess it was like a breaking and entering with some other gentlemen. That's 2 instances. That doesn't. And in 5 years, apparently he had, you know, not been involved in anything like that. So you can't say that his entire life he was a violent criminal. Come on, man. I keep harping on this because I had people, you know, hitting me up like, yo, man, she's killing the game. Just think it through. Think it through. All right.
Let's go.
Till the very last moment. Now, again, I want to be clear. This is not a defense for Derek Chauvin. No one that I have spoken to, no one in the news is defending Derek Chauvin. He is getting what he has coming to him. Okay, great. But why are we pretending that this criminal should be upheld?
Pause, man. Pause. So she downplays the fact that he murdered someone. Like, that's not like, yeah, that's great. But look at this dude. Let's talk about the victim. Look how evil and atrocious he is. Yeah. The cop killed him, but look at the victim, though. Really?
Right. But see, again, it's like, you know, and I think again, so George Floyd is emblematic of a larger problem. I'm saying because y'all didn't have anything to say, you know, when it was Ahmaud Arbery, when you know they had a whole lot to say about Ahmaud Arbery, and they want to talk about how he was in the house and all this kind of stuff. But I didn't see them going back and making videos when it came out that Travis McMichael stood over Ahmaud Arbery's dead body after he just shot him and called him an effing N-word. I didn't see Candace Owens go back and talk about that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see it, you know, talking about, you know, the GBI, the evidence that the GBI has that obviously this was, racially motivated. Didn't see him go back and talk about that, right? So the issue is this: when it comes to George Floyd, you know, yeah, you know what? I mean, if he did some wrong stuff, he did some wrong stuff. Nobody's making excuses for that. Right. I'm not making excuses for it. Absolutely. Right. With that being said, what is all the fervor about? All the fervor about is that what Derek Chauvin did, we're saying it wasn't an isolated incident. Is that there's actually a bigger story going on here of abuses and police misconduct and actually just racism as well. You know, the devaluing Black lives, you know, it's, you know, all these stories are tied together, and that's what's, you know, fueling the flames of this issue. Mind you, again, this is the second incident where with Arbery, he, you know, no arrests were made for like what, 2 months, 3 months after the incident. Yeah. With the situation with Derek Chauvin, no arrests were made within 2 to 3 days of a dude who murdered somebody in broad daylight on camera. No arrest made, really?
And they had the video. They had the video.
Everybody had the video. So that's what I'm saying. So in other words, she's not addressing these other elements that are contributing factors to the fueling, you know, why it is that people are pouring out such emotion and all this kind of stuff. And George Floyd is emblematic of what's going on in that broader story. She's not touching on these other elements. She's condensing it down to his criminal record. Oh, why are we, you know, seeing this person? It's not about him and him, whether he's worthy or not of, you know, being, you know, in the public eye as he is right now. Right. What it is, you know, there's this larger issue that for right now, he's unfortunately the face of it. Before him, it was Trayvon Martin. Before him, it was, it's a number of other people.
Or somebody. Right.
It's just that George Floyd is named right now, you know. That's kid Jones killing me right now.
I just saw that. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
What he has coming to him, okay, great. But why are we pretending that this criminal should be upheld as a citizen, as a martyr in Black America? A martyr for a fake narrative, by the way. Police brutality, racially motivated police brutality is a myth. Okay, so let's get into that. Not only are we using this death, right, and allowing it to cause these riots and protests, pretending this was some upstanding citizen in the Black community who was tackled down and killed for no reason, right? Not only are we allowing it to inspire riots in which Black people are dying, in which actual...
Again, this is, I hate to keep nitpicking, but these little small nuances are so important. She said that, you know, these riots were inspired by a false narrative of somebody being taken down and killed for no reason. No, the riots were inspired because there's delay in terms of them making an arrest. That's why the riots popped off. It's not just riots didn't start immediately when the video leaked out. They began as time lingered on and arrests had not been made. That's what sparked off the riots. So, but she throws in little stuff like little just erroneous statements like that you know skews, you know, the whole, that muddies the waters, if you will, of the discussion. I'll put it that way. All right.
Upstanding Black citizens are dying. Case in point, I'm sure you guys have all now seen David, the sheriff that just was shot and killed because he was trying to protect a pawn shop. Please look him up if you haven't seen it. I'm blanking on his last name. His first name is David, who was shot and killed for trying to protect a pawn shop from looters. An upstanding citizen, an actual head of a police. He was the head of a police his entire life, 77 years old, did everything right? So we now have to kill upstanding Black citizens because a non-upstanding Black citizen, a career Black criminal, died. Now, did he just...
I'm sorry, I gotta do it again. She said, we now have to kill upstanding Black citizens, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, nobody's saying that. Right. Now, with that being said, let's be clear. These riots are not a bunch of Black savages running around breaking stuff. That's not what these riots are. Anybody can look at the news. Anybody can get firsthand reports and understand that it's not just a bunch of angry Black people running around breaking stuff up in their own neighborhoods. That's not what this is, right? If you just look at the news, there's a lot of white faces out there. There's a lot of Antifa out there. I understand there's a lot of, and I'm not just talking about what I've seen on the news. I'm talking about, I've got family members who've been on the boots on the ground in the midst of these things going on and witnessing scores of white folks going around breaking things up. So let's be clear. And I don't think that she makes that sort of distinction here, but lest anybody be confused, you know what I mean? It's not a bunch of Black people running around. We don't know who, and it's terrible that guy got killed. I read that story. That's a terrible thing. Obviously, nothing like that should happen. I don't support, I'm gonna be clear, I'm not a fan of the riots and the looting. You know what I'm saying? I understand why people are angry. I get that. I'm not a fan of that. You know what I'm saying? I think I see where there's some angst there. You know what I'm saying? So she's absolutely right. It's terrible that man died, and I don't want to make light of that, not one bit. That's tragic.
And it seems to me,
I don't want her to skew the narrative. You know what I'm saying, I just want to make sure that we're clear that it's not just a bunch of Black people running around doing it.
No, absolutely.
Like, why are we killing, upstanding people? No. We don't know who killed them, but we do know that there's a hodgepodge of people out there. I just want to be clear.
And this might be, well, this is my opinion, but it almost seems as if she's more concerned about the type of Black man that was killed by the cop as opposed to a Black man being killed by a cop.
Right.
Because that's part of this narrative that she's concocting. You know what I mean? It's like, he's a horrible dude. Why we have this guy that died and we're up like we should uplift this guy because he's a terrible dude. It's like, we're not uplifting him. He's another victim. And you seem to be upset that we didn't kill a better Black man. You know?
She wants the Ned Flanders of the Black community to take that L before she
exactly. It's for her to feel good. You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Deserve to die in that manner? No. I can't say it enough. No, he didn't deserve to die in that manner. But I will
Pause. I'm going to be charitable and say she misspoke there.
Okay.
But she just said he does not deserve to die in that manner.
Golly, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Which is saying that the problem wasn't, again, him dying. It's just the way he died.
Mm.
You know? They should have kept it old school and wait until they got him to the precinct and kill him there, right? That's what we should have done, right? Like, what do you mean in that manner? Yeah. I'm going to be charitable and say she misspoke.
Fair enough.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fair enough. All right.
Standing Black citizens have to suffer because of this incident that rarely ever happens in America. So here are some numbers for you people that are still believing that police brutality.
You know what? So she's going to get into the statistics.
What do you mean you people? I'm playing.
That's a good question. But so this is something that I think is very important, and it taps into something I said earlier. So there's this idea that, say, police misconduct, particularly, killings of say unarmed Black men unjustifiably, that, she's saying like it's something that rarely happens. And so that, in other words, she's saying we shouldn't be worked up about something that's rare. Right. Now, here's the problem with that. I take it back to the words of Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I'm saying that's one thing that he said. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you have this deep history of Black people being just lynched and abused and systematically, held up economically and all these kind of things. I mean, you have this centuries long track record, right, of America and individuals in America, groups in America, just doing harm to Black people, right? And then you have this period where there seems to be, there's some gains being made moving away from that. It's reasonable that people don't want to go back. They don't want to go backwards. And so therefore, anytime something even appears to have an inkling of going backwards, they're rightly, I guess you can say, just vigilant to make sure that isn't the case. I'm saying, it's just like if I grab your arm and leave a bruise, or say if I punch you in the rib and leave a bruise, right? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna cover up that bruise when I'm around, probably. You know what I'm saying? Or if somebody touches the bruise, it's gonna be extra sensitive. Okay.
Right.
The bruise on the Black community, you know what I'm saying, such that due to the history of being devalued in this context. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, when somebody touches that, you know what I'm saying, when somebody is devalued in our community, we're sensitive to it. We're gonna be protective. Right? We're going to guard against the narrative that Black lives are worth less. You know what I'm saying? Because if we don't do that, then the concern is that there will be a backtracking towards what we've seen in the history here in the Western context. And so I think people, even if it is rare, people should definitely be loud about injustice. When Black people were killed unnecessarily, like I talked about, again, I'm not going to be long-winded, but like I talked about it with the Jews, you didn't have gas chambers just spring up overnight.
Right.
There was a protracted period of a narrative that was woven into the German society that spoke to this notion of the Jews being the problem. I'm saying, and because that narrative took such root, it made it possible then for the gas chambers to come, the final solution to come about. So yes, narratives matter, and anytime in this society, given the fact that this narrative is already present, of racism, and so forth, we need to make sure that we're quick to hop on it. We should be, absolutely.
Real quick, Mr. Phil Fox is putting his hat in the ring. Adam Coleman for president. Can I be your manager?
Oh, you can be the vice president for all I care, man. You be the vice president, man. Roll with it.
Wow. And shout out to my man Manny Viz for the super chat as well. I didn't get to that, so that's my guy right there. So, but anyway, let's continue.
Is a real racially motivated police brutality is a real thing. First and foremost, okay, you have a 25% higher chance as a violent white criminal of dying at the hands of a police officer than you do as a Black criminal. Last year, a total of 9 unarmed black men were killed by police officers, and 19 white men were killed by police officers. For those of you that aren't good at mathematics, right, you might be thinking, oh, but Candace, white people represent 60% of the population and Black people represent just 13% of the population. It doesn't matter what percentage of the population you represent. It matters what percentage of the violent criminal community you represent. And
wait.
Commit a disproportionate amount of crimes.
So she just said that for those of us who don't know math, and then she's like, well, you might talk about percentages, but who cares about percentages? But you just said that we don't know math. It kind of sounds like you don't know.
There's something else too I want to bring up. Actually, since we're dealing with this here, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I think I'm gonna bring up some slides here right quick.
I
think I'll bring up some slides right quick. Hold up. What's today? I wonder if I can find. Dang, man, this is one study I wanted to bring up. Anyway, all right. Let me bring up this other one right quick. Let me unshare this.
All right.
So here's a big problem that I see in this overall discussion. Okay. So first of all, she says that you're 25 times or 25% more likely to be killed as a white person than you are a Black person. Okay. Now, one big mistake that I think she's making, that I see a lot of people making today, is that they center this conversation around the killings in terms of whether or not Black people should have some anxiety about the police. They say, well, you're more likely or as likely or whatever to be killed as these other races as you are a Black man. So stop tripping, right?
Right.
Now, I think part of the problem is that we're dealing with what I would refer to as an incomplete data set. It's an incomplete data set. I think they're not taking into account the entirety of what it is that Black people are really concerned about. I'm saying now I'm going to actually give credence to my man, or shout out to my man Leroy Hill, who pointed this out. And I'm going to be fair in saying that it's not just the conservatives' fault or Candace Owens' fault, because when you think about the Black Lives Matter movement, they center their platform around unjust killings and so forth. But I think it's like the killings become like this centerpiece of the discussion. But I think thoughtful people will sit back and try to analyze what's going on and say, okay, well, what really is the broader issue here that people are trying to get at? I'm saying, and then make their assessment from there. I'm saying, if they're really using they're putting on their thinking caps. So here's where I'm going with it. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. All right. I had the Marilyn Monroe picture. Had it ready. Can y'all see that? Let me make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I actually went through this the other day, on Tim Stratton's channel. So I won't go through the whole thing because it took me like 15 minutes, and I'm not going to do that now. But there are studies. This is actually by the Pew Research Center, where it talks about basically perceptions. I'm saying, and differing perspectives. Actually, I'm gonna skip to this last one because we're coming up on time here. So this one actually kind of tells the story of what I'm trying to get to. So this is from the Pew Research Center. I can put it in the chat or in the description later on if y'all remind me. So it talks about how there's basically the differences in perceptions of deadly police encounters among police and the public, right? So officers, if you notice there at the top left, the yellow is referring to whether people believe it's isolated incidents versus the green, which indicates or people reporting that they think it's a bigger problem, signs of a bigger problem when we have these high profile cases. So among white officers, 72% believe that these instances like George Floyd are isolated incidences. Among the white public, 44% believe that these are isolated incidents, whereas 54% believe that there's signs of a bigger problem. So most people actually do think that these incidents point to a bigger problem. It's not just Black people. Okay, so even amongst white people, when there's these deadly incidents, Black people are not the only ones who say, hey, there's something going on here. No, actually, the majority, according to this study, the majority that they surveyed, if you will, and the white public believe that there's a problem. Now, among Blacks. All right. Among Black officers, 43% believe that these incidents are isolated events versus 57% believe that there's a bigger problem. Now, just compare officer to officer. White officers believe that at 72%, that these incidents rather are isolated, whereas their black counterparts are at 43%. That's a huge disparity. Disparity. That's like just shy of 30 points. I'm saying 30 percentage points. All right. Now, when the black public comes into play, what about the black public? Well, 18% believe that you have that these incidents are isolated versus 79% or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there's an obvious disparity between what white people think about these incidents and what black people think about these incidents. Okay, now why is that important? I have another study that actually I'll just refer you to the I'll put it in the chat, and I'll refer you to the Tim Stratton talk that I did the other day, because I don't want to belabor the point. But there's a study that gets into the spectrum of abuses, if you will, that goes on amongst the black population, where basically it shows that when in the black community, that folks either that they report that they themselves have either been wrongfully stopped, disrespected, excessive use of force, either them or somebody they know, either in the immediate family or friend stats and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So everybody basically knows, either has experienced or knows somebody who has, that's been subject to some abuses from the police. Now I'm being quick with it, and people can go to that other video, check it out. But the whole point is this, what I'm saying, is that it's not just we can't just take the incidents of police brutality and killings into account, right? Really, what we're looking at is there's a spectrum, there's a root system, if you will, of various kinds of abuses from police toward black people that basically instills this fear and concern that police are going to do the wrong thing. At any given time, things might go the wrong way to the police. And these incidents of killings, these are just the most heinous examples. But in the minds of the African-American community, it's tied to this broader spectrum of abuses. So if you want to understand why black people are so concerned about these cases, is because because we believe it to be reflective of a bigger problem. I'm saying it's not just, nobody's saying that, well, I can't say nobody, but I don't think the average black person is saying it just literally every day they're slaughtering black people like the thousands or something like that.
Right.
But what we are saying is that the police regularly abuse people in the black community. And then unfortunately, in the worst cases, we see that exemplified in instances like with George Floyd. So right. You can't just take the killings into account. That's an incomplete data set is how I'll term it that way. All right.
Cool. Well done.
Okay. I got a couple more stats too, but I'm gonna try to hustle up because I know we're coming up on our time here.
Yeah. As per Phil Fox, we did hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. Right. We're getting close though. We're getting closer to
Yeah.
Here we go.
Compared to the white community. Let me tell you, 6% of the population, right? Black men, 6% of the population account for 44% of all murders in this country, according to 2018 statistics. That is what you call a gap. And yet white people who represent 60% of the population, we represent 13, black men are 6%, represent 50% of all the murders, right? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. A 6-point variation in a community where we are extreme minorities. We commit 50% of all violent offenses.
All right. Now, she said that makes no sense. The disparity between people offending in the black community and so forth. Now, I'm gonna tell you why it doesn't make sense to her, because what she's doing is she's citing, okay, well, here's how many black people are doing wrong. Here's percentages over there. Here's the percentages of white people and the amount of crimes they commit. Now, if you're just talking about, black and white, if you're looking through the lens of race, right, then it doesn't seem to make sense. Like, man, it's such a huge disparity. That doesn't make sense. But fortunately, we have people who are, who make a living looking into these kind of things, who don't just look through the lens of race and can, tell us a little bit more about what's going on, right? Now, let me be real quick with this, all right? I know we got to
do your thing.
Gotta run. All right, so let me share a couple things. I'm going to share two things real quick. All right. So again, I'm going to talk about, this incomplete data set. Okay. She's just talking about, oh, well, this is how many black people, this is how many white people do this. Well, there's more to the story. All right. We got to look beyond race. Okay. And people can check me. I got like 5 or 6 studies in my email that I'm going to put in the chat. And I want everybody to check them out. Don't just take my word for it. I'm saying I'm going to give you some examples of the things that I'm talking about here. All right. Now, when we look beyond race, actually what you find is that there are other factors, right, that go into like, you know, violence rates and all those kind of things. You can't just look at race. You also have to look at what's been referred to in the literature by Sampson and Wilson as structural disadvantage, and people who draw from their work as well. But what you call structural disadvantage, okay? Examples of structural disadvantage might be something like poverty or segregation or inequality, right? Those are going to be different factors that can be going on in a particular locality. I'm saying they're going to influence, you know, what the crime rates look like. Now, I'm not going to be going in detail on all of them. I'll put some examples in the chat, but real quick, I do want to share at least one so people can see what I'm talking about. Okay, real quick. This is what people who get paid looking at this kind of stuff have to say. Give me 1 second. Oh shoot, I meant to stop here. I'm going to read a portion of a study here that I'm going to put in the chat. All right. And this is not just like, you know, Boo Boo and Ray Ray making up stats. This is like a legit, you know, like referee journal type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to it. Oh, shoot. Which one was that? Okay, I think that's it. Okay. Oops. No, that's not it. I meant to do this one. Okay. Sorry.
It's all good, bro.
Yo, I'm not balling at all on this joint, man. I'm messing up, man. I got technical difficulties going on. I got, you know, I'm messing up your whole
good,
man. Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. You see that?
Yeah. Can you make it slightly bigger though?
Yeah.
No, oh, that's too big. Okay, right there. Oh, wait.
Did that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. So this one is I'll put it in the chat, but you know, so this is a study, and you know, I've got more contemporary ones as well. But I'm just going to, this kind of sums it up well. But it says, finally, our analysis is instructive regarding the comparative role of social disadvantage in white and black neighborhoods. Overall, average poverty and violent crime rates are substantially higher in black communities. However, disadvantage has the same patterns of effects on crimes in white and black neighborhoods. Hence, crime rates for racially distinct areas generally approach one another when structural conditions are controlled. These patterns are particularly striking for violent crimes. Gross rates of violence are nearly 3 times as high in black as in white neighborhoods, but the net race difference in violent crime is small and non-significant for the vast majority of contrast between similarly disadvantaged communities. And even when race differences persist, residents confront much less violence in black neighborhoods with low disadvantage than in either black or white communities with extreme disadvantage. Taken as a whole, these findings clearly substantiate Sampson and Wilson's contention that the sources of crime are invariant across race and are rooted largely in the structural differences among communities. So what he's talking about there is actually, you know, she's talking about this disparity. You got 6% of the population of black males and so on and so forth, and this and that. But those disparities dissolve. They disappear when you take into account poverty and the fact that people live in disadvantaged contexts. I'm saying when you have when you control for the economic differences between groups, or put it this way, to put it simply, when you got white black people and black people in a predominantly white neighborhood and a predominantly black neighborhood of equal or comparable economic disadvantage and structural disadvantage, those crime rates are about the same. You know what I'm saying? So the disparities that she's referring to disappear when you put poverty into the mix. So that's why you can't just look at rates. You know what I'm saying? Anybody, when you actually factor in poverty, what appears to be the case is that poverty is a greater indicator of just race. Social disadvantage and structure within a particular locality, those things are a better indicator of what your crime.
But this also shows her being so consistent in the othering of black people, right? Because that's the point she wants to make. We're unique. We're special, right? We do this way more. This is us. This is our fault. This is our problem. Without looking at, again, the research and the nuance when it comes to these different things. She continually others us, you know?
Yep. If I could just share this one last thing. So I'm not going to, I have like 4 other studies, but I don't want to, go through maybe I'll just do a whole show on it. But I just want to point out that just real quick, and I'll put, anybody can fact check me. I'll put examples in the chat. I mean, or in the description. But I talked about kind of just a snapshot of how poverty and structural disadvantage, evens the playing field in terms of violence and crime rates, right? But also other factors that come into play would be segregation. When you have areas like within, say, a particular city, when there's a lot of segregation, that has influence in terms of driving up crime rates as well. And we can think about how redlining, I'm saying, back in the day, contributes to the continued presence of segregation within areas today. I'm saying, so that's a factor. And also inequality. I encourage anybody to look up what's called the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient. I'm saying the Gini coefficient is basically a mathematical tool, if you will, that has been used to assess the correlation between crime and inequality. Okay, because I talked about poverty, but here's the thing: the Gini coefficient measures not just poverty straight out. Now, I can take this off the screen now, but the Gini coefficient also is when you talk about equality, is basically people who are poor and are in some proximity or have some access to those who are not poor. You know what I'm saying? So when you have people who are poor who have access to those who are not poor, and there's this inequality, that drives up the rate of violence and crime as well. You know what I'm saying? And so there's these differing factors. So in some countries, they've done this like internationally. They've used the Gini coefficient to compare nations against one another. So you can see in some nations where there's more parity between people groups. You know what I'm saying? You see less crime, but the wider the gap you see, the more crime you see. You know what I'm saying? Now, what could in our context, what could possibly contribute to the disparity as far as economic inequality here in America? Well, put it this way: Black people didn't get to the poor economic state that they're in, by and large, by themselves, right? There's a spectrum of different factors that go into play. Now I'm gonna say this: look, the only way that the Black community is going to get any better is if we are better stewards over the things that we have and we advocate for ourselves in an effective manner. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, it's not the case that everything can be attributed to like fatherlessness or, the kind of stuff that they like to trot out. Because if you look at the studies, poverty has an impact on families as well. You know what I'm saying? And poverty in our community precedes, the decline in the Black family. So if you want to talk about the decline in the Black family, you have to talk about the economic context, the negative economic context that preceded it in our community. Which really, when you think about it, to put a bow on it, what we're seeing in our communities now is exactly what one would expect when you have pervasive and protracted poverty. This is exactly what you would expect to see. And if people want to have a real conversation, then they need to address that. So I gave that the shortened version. I apologize, but
no, bro, that's. I mean, we're here to nerd out. We're here to nerd out. So that's
bottom line. You can't just look at race. You can't just say, well, this group over here is doing this and that group is doing that. No, you need to start. You got to broaden your lens. And be more careful. And what you do is you realize that the disparities that she's calling out aren't exactly what she's letting on that it is or implies. All right.
Right.
Evenly split, and we're only 13% of the population. Okay, so we have a lot more encounters with police officers. And don't say the police officers are coming around because we're Black. I'm talking about violent criminals. I'm talking about murder. 44% of murders. Okay.
Yeah, she's talking about violent criminals and murders. But again, I'll put we have to deal with like unjustified stops and those kind of things. It's not the case that you want to limit your encounters with the police. But there's evidence, and I'll put that in the description as well, with studies about people being stopped unjustifiably and so forth. So some of it's not on us, if you will, in terms of the interactions that we do have. You can't put that all on the Black community. All right.
You want to talk about real statistics? The police officers have way more to be fearful of in the Black community than the other way around, okay? We commit, on average, a police officer is 18 and a half times more likely to be killed by a Black person than the other way around, okay? So this entire narrative is complete smoke and mirrors.
All right, wait a minute. I'm going to just address that, and I promise this is my last rebuttal. Because here's the thing. This is where she was like in her bag, and she was just throwing out these statistics. I didn't want to let that slide. So I wanted to have some rejoinders there. Now, when it talks about, she says that the police are 18 times more likely to be killed by a Black person than the other way around. Well, first of all, they're interfacing with criminals. That's their job. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, strange that they would be in more peril because every day, all day, their job is to interact with criminals. Right. So if you're constantly interfacing with the most criminal element of any given society, then yeah, you're going to be in some peril. That's not strange at all. Now, with that being said, again, it's kind of apples and oranges because nobody expects criminals to be out here valuing life. Like, I mean, that's kind of their thing. They don't do that.
Right.
And like, the people that you're dealing with, the violent offenders and so forth, they're not the kind of people that really are like me and BK who have respect for the Imago Dei and so forth. They're not going to give you a sermon on Genesis 1:26. With that being said, my expectations for criminals is like mad low. Criminals are going to be criminals. That's what they do. The issue is when it comes to police, even if it is the case that they're far less likely, anyway, the bottom line is police they're supposed to be protecting and serving. That's what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And so there's going to be obviously a higher degree of accountability for officers. You know what I'm saying? And that's the issue. We don't expect criminals to not be criminals. And when they do, when these black people kill these cops, we know they're going to jail. Or actually, we don't, because they probably get shot before they go to jail. But if they do go to court, we know they're going to prison.
Right.
When it comes to these incidences right here, like with George Floyd, we don't know what's going to happen because we have examples like in the Ahmaud Arbery case where it takes 2 months to get a conviction, and it takes 2 months for somebody to get arrested. And in the case of George Floyd, it takes 3 to 4 days to arrest a man who murdered somebody in cold blood in broad daylight on camera. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, obviously there's going to be more angst about those who are supposed to do right and are not doing right. Right, those that we expect to do right and are not doing right, particularly if they're in positions of authority or mishandling, their authority. So yeah, it's just apples and oranges right there in terms of which she's on it. All right,
it's all made up. It's just election fodder. It's white versus black because it's an election year, not because black Americans are suffering at the hands of police officers more than white Americans. Do some police officers do the wrong thing? Yes. I don't think there's anybody in the world not encounter a police officer.
Right.
Even if what she's saying is true, it's still a problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's more white people being killed by cops than black people. If we're saying, you know what, cops shouldn't really kill on black people, so we shouldn't say that because the stats are, you know what I mean? Like it's still a bad thing. Right. So even if what she's saying is correct, it's still a bad thing, and it should stop, or perhaps not, according to her. Or better yet, it should continue, but with better black people. Right. So
more worthy victims.
Exactly.
That's wild, man. That's wild. And again, it's just silly, man. I mean, now I will say, I mean, yeah, of course, politics is a real thing. The media is a real thing. They have their agendas or whatever. Right. But you have to ask yourself, I mean, if it's just election fodder, how do they keep finding so much, firewood, if you will? You know what I'm saying? I mean, why there's so many incidents that they can then co-opt for their purposes? You know what I'm saying? George, regardless of whatever's going on politically, George Floyd had a knee on his neck. That's not made up. That really happened. Right. And we need to find out why it happened and what can be done so it doesn't happen again. You know what I'm saying? That at the end of the day.
Right.
She claims it's all made up. But again, now notice what she said. She quoted a stat about police brutality, you know what I'm saying, initially to make her case. And then just now she said that it's not true that more black people are suffering at the hands of the police than white people. Suffering at the hands of, that's a broader term than just police brutality and police murdering people.
Right.
I'm suggesting that black people are suffering at the hands of the police far more than the statistics that she's calling our attention to would suggest. There's more than just killings. That's that incomplete data set again. And then she tried to broaden it out to put a linchpin in our argument. All right.
Thought this person is an absolute jerk who is power tripping, whether you are black or white. We know they exist, and we know they're always going to exist, by the way, because they're human beings, and sometimes human beings suck. In fact, if you want to attack a community for accidental slayings or brutality, did you know that doctors act? All
right, did you hear that? She said, if you want to attack a community for accidental slayings. And then she's going to go into her whole doctor point, right?
Right.
Well, we're not saying that the stuff with the police are accidents. So
no, that's not the argument.
That's not the argument. We're not so-called attacking police for accidents.
Right.
Saying that they're intentionally doing things they ought not to be doing.
And if it's an accident, then is he a devil?
Right.
The devils are usually intentional with their devilishment. Right. The devil's not known for oopsies. No. Right. So. Anyway,
there we go.
accidentally kill 250,000 people every year because of mistakes? Do you know that there's been doctors that have been arrested for being serial killers that just were killing people because they wanted to? Do we protest and boycott doctors? Do we assume all doctors are horrible human beings because some doctors are? Or do we realize that society is not perfectible? People suck in every profession. It is no excuse to paint society with a broad brush. It is certainly no excuse to accept a Democrat narrative, okay, that Black people are being disproportionately hunted down by police officers because of the color of their skin. You want to know the best way to avoid not being brutalized by a police officer is to limit the amount of encounters you need to have with them, especially when it comes to violent crimes. Okay.
Wait. Pause this. Wait. So, actually, you know what? Rewind it a little bit.
Okay.
just a little bit.
Run it back. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
About 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Down by police officers because of the color of their skin. You want to know the best way to avoid not being brutalized by a police officer is to limit the amount of encounters you need to have with them, especially when it comes to violent crime.
All right. So the best way for Black people to avoid being killed is not be around cops. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
So if you don't want to be killed by a cop, make sure you're nowhere near one.
Yeah.
Really? That's the advice he's giving Black people.
Advice, yeah, right.
Don't be around the cops, because if they're around, chances are, which kind of defeats the whole mathematical thing that she did for us just now.
Well, yeah, I'm certainly trying to stay away from the cops. I mean, I don't speed, I don't run red lights and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't, I'm certainly trying to do that. However, and me, a law-abiding citizen, I've been unjustly treated by a police officer as well. You know what I'm saying? So, oh, Nate 2 DT is getting at me. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we want to limit our interactions with the police. There's no doubt about that. The problem is that we're not the only volitional beings in this equation. Police have options in terms of who they pull over and who they don't pull over.
Right.
And the studies show that there's, some evidence to suggest that sometimes they're pulling over Black people in a disproportionate number. So regardless of what Black people are doing, whether they're obeying the laws of the land or not, there seems to be an issue here that we need to draw attention to. The same.
Right.
All right.
Crazy. Yeah, continue.
Okay, I am not going to stand for this continual bottom-feeding narrative of us martyring people that have had 5, 6, 7 stints in prison and then pretending they were upstanding heroes to our community. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Excuse my language. It's absolute bullshit, and I'm tired of it.
Excuse your language.
I'm tired of having to play pretend. I'm tired of sitting here and being called a coon or an Uncle Tom because I won't play this bottom feeding game with you. If you want to hang up posters of criminals on your wall and talk about them as your martyrs, do it. Do it.
Can I just say something real quick? Let me just say this real quick. since you brought up the coon word. So I never use the word coon. That's just not a part of my vocabulary. I don't refer to people as coons. And it's partly because I set a really high bar for people that are considered to be like legit coons. You know what I'm saying? But let me just correct something right quick. Like, I'm not saying that sometimes you can be called a coon because you have a different perspective. I'm not saying that never happens, but if you are constantly, just beating up on Black people, and you don't do your due diligence to kind of balance that out on a public platform, then I mean you can take that L. I mean that's what happens. I'm saying, I'm not saying it should happen. I mean, I hope people aren't just running around calling her names and whatnot. But like, maybe you should consider how you're carrying yourself. That's what I'm really trying to say. I'm saying what I'm really trying to say is, if you carry yourself in an ungracious manner, then you put yourself in a position to be treated ungraciously. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it should be or shouldn't be, but maybe try not berating people who just died, in a despicable manner fairly recently. Like, maybe try not doing that. You know what I'm saying? But come on, man, she doesn't carry herself well, yo. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I'm just saying, it's kind of like what she said. She said, if you don't want to be unjustly treated by the police or brutalized by the police and try to limit your interactions, I'm offering similar advice. I'm saying that, if you don't want people to, be calling you a coon and so on and so forth, I'm making an honest recommendation. Like, carry yourself differently. Like, I think she can do better than that. I think she can do better than that. From a character standpoint, I think she can do better than that. Season your words with grace.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So she's a Christian. That's what the word says.
Do it. Kobe Bryant was my idol. Okay, I'll keep a photo of Kobe Bryant. You can keep one of George Floyd and pretend he was an upstanding human being that just once or twice put a gun across a pregnant woman's belly. Could you imagine that woman right now? That black woman, by the way, right? Watching everybody pretend this person was an upstanding human being who just at the age of 42 and 5 prison stints was going to get his life together. I mean, it's embarrassing. We are embarrassing in that regard, right? This is why we have a cycle and a toxic culture, because nobody wants to tell the truth in Black America. It's so easy to be a victim. It's so easy to ask white people to bow down and apologize and do all these things for us. It's crap. It's crap. It's a lie. It's a farce. Our biggest problem is us, okay? It's why we don't talk about it when black on black crime happens. It's why we don't talk about it when 40 black people are killed in one weekend during Memorial Weekend in Chicago. We don't want to talk about any of that stuff. We don't want to talk about Baltimore. We don't want to talk about New Jersey. We don't want to talk about any of these places where black people are being slaughtered by other blacks, because that would mean that we had to be personally accountable, right? That would mean personal responsibility. We don't do personal responsibility in our community. We don't do it. We blame white people, right? We only point a camera to white people when they do something, even though we do it at a way higher rate to ourselves, right? We celebrate our drug dealers. We're the only community, right?
All right, yeah. So, again, just there's more vitriol, man. I mean, so here's my thing, man. So first of all, just real quick, she said something about, of course, black on black. Like, we don't want to talk about black on black crime, right? Now, when you check the studies, if you look at, they always throw that out, black on black crime. Well, yeah, black on black crime, if I'm not mistaken, is about, like 93% right now. I'm saying in terms of that's that's what you're dealing with as far as crime rates. 93% of the crimes committed, community black on black crime. That's what you're dealing with. Well, let's talk about white on white crime. You know what I'm saying? White on white crime is about like 84%. It's like, so you're more likely to be victimized by another white person if you're white. You're more likely to be victimized by another black person if you're black.
Because you usually commit crimes with people who are next to you.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me ask you this question. Now, her boy, Donald Trump, ran on this whole notion, in terms of his campaign. He was going to build a wall, right? He wanted to build a wall, in order to keep the Mexicans out, the criminal ones, trying to be nuanced here. He wanted to keep the crime committing Mexicans out and terrorists. You want to keep terrorists out. So that's why he's going to buckle down on immigration. You want to spend millions of dollars, to build this wall, right? That's her boy. Now, what if I were to come and say, well, yeah, but what about white on white crime, right? Because you're far more likely to be victimized by a white person if you're a white person than you are to some Mexican at the border or some terrorist, right? But yet, here's the thing: people don't want to talk about white on white crime when the discussion is about terrorism or things going on at the border. Why? Because they believe, now we can agree or disagree, they believe that those things are real threats, right? Well, let's say that those things are real threats. The existence of white on white crime doesn't mean that, criminals coming across the border and terrorists aren't a real threat. Well, in the same way, just because black on black crime exists, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned about being victimized by others, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And so people don't want to talk about that.
In Jersey right now, it is now the white supremacist groups that are a higher threat, like officially are a higher threat than ISIS in America.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
They've elevated past ISIS. They are the biggest threat to at least that part of America. Not ISIS anymore. So she should do a video about that. Man. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, she should be concerned about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, keep the same energy. Just keep the same energy, We
don't like using the word coon. But, it's interesting, right? Because even within the world of coon, there's a specific type of coon known as the zip coon. And the zip coon is first performed by George Dixon in 1834. The zip coon makes a mockery of free blacks an arrogant, ostentatious figure. He dressed in high style and spoke in a series of malaprops and puns that undermined his attempts to appear dignified. I'm just saying.
I mean, hey, I'm like, you know, I think you put on Matt Jackson with that one, man. But
that's thinking of MJ. Yeah.
Right. That's an MJ Jackson joint. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, but that's the thing is like, you know, if you're taking an angle on particular stories or whatever to the detriment of the Black community, and if there's some sort of platform related or, you know, money related, you know, motives behind that, and only she knows, then I think she should really reconsider how she approaches a platform. I'm saying that's how I look at it. I'm saying she should really reconsider that. But, you know, nevertheless, her arguments are trash. I mean, she brought up black and black crime. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about that. Is that really true? Is it really true that nobody? I mean, you know, I can tell you plenty of people who talk about black and black crime. You know what I'm saying?
Put PSA on that.
Huh?
Put PSA for my white brothers and sisters, right? When a person of color is talking about police brutality or some other racial injustice, it's actually really disrespectful to bring up black on black crime at that moment. Because what you're saying is the topic that you want to speak on, I would rather not. Let's forget what you brought up and let me talk about my topic. Right? That's just disrespectful. And not that we can't talk about both and not that we don't condemn both, because black people can walk and chew gum at the same time. But when you do that, it looks like a deflection and you're not respecting the topic I brought up. Now, all you got to do if you don't want to talk about what I'm saying is, hey, let's not talk about that. Could we talk about something else? And that's fine. That's respectful because you acknowledge that you don't want to have this discussion, which is fine. But when you put up the black on black crime response, what you're saying is I'm just going to sideline and hijack your conversation that you want to have. That's so disrespectful. I'm just letting you guys know. Okay.
Oh, and also, I'm going to say it's also, in most cases that is brought up, is also fallacious. It's called the fallacy of relative privation. The fallacy of relative privation. You know what I'm saying? That's when you're saying like, well, what about this? You know, like there's some bigger issue or something like that. You believe that there's some bigger issue that somebody should be addressing. Therefore, they shouldn't be talking about the one that they're talking about right then. That's the fallacy of relative privation. It may well be the case.
What's the 2K fallacy? The KQK fallacy?
Yeah.
What about is?
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, it's fallacious. Like it may very well be the case, you know, that black and black crime is a bigger issue, but that doesn't mean that this issue isn't something that needs to be spoken about, you know. And to be honest, the reason why black people, I'm going to give you all the inside track to anybody who brings up the black on black crime argument and wonder why people don't want to talk about it. Here's why, because and people can track me if I'm wrong. 99.9% of the time, when somebody brings up black and black crime from, like, you know, whether it be a white person, conservative, or somebody like Candace Owens, 99.9% of the time, they bring it up as a counter argument to something that the black person is putting on the table as a concern. Now, if the only time you have anything to say about black on black crime is to use it as a counterpoint against me, then that gives me the indication that you're basically disingenuous. You're not really sincere about any concern about black on black crime. You're just using it as a pawn in your argumentation against what I'm trying to say. So no, I'm not going to talk with you about it because I don't think that you're serious about it. If you want to talk about black on black crime, before you do that, tell me, what are you doing about black on black crime? Show me some receipts. You know what I'm saying? Show me are you really concerned about it? And if so, show me some receipts. And if not, then why are you bringing it up? You know what I'm saying? Don't try to silence me with it. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're not going to talk about it, because you're not serious about it. Well, I'm not going to talk about something. I'm not going to talk with you about something that I know and you know that you're not really serious about. You don't care about black and black crime. Right. You don't really care about it in so much as you can use it in your argumentation against me talking about police misconduct. So no, we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
There you go.
That would ever create hashtags to free people from prison because they committed crimes, like free Meek Mill, free this rapper, free this rapper. How hard is it to not spend multiple times in prison? How difficult is that? Is that too hard for us? Is that way too high of a mountain for us to scale, to do the right thing, to be upstanding citizens? That is the call to action that I have for Black America.
Hey, before she signs off, I just want to note, she's talking about free, this rapper or that rapper. Who is the greatest consumer of rap music?
Well, according to the it's white people.
Thank you. Nobody purchases more rap music than white people.
And listen, and it's not because all rappers want to talk about that. Because I had speech on my platform a couple of days ago, and he just broke it down. It's like there's like Spotify and certain platforms that specifically want a certain type of hip hop. If you're talking positive and you're conscious, they actually will tell you up front, this is not the platform for you.
Wow.
Why would that be the case? And this is from a 2-time Grammy Award winning artist, speech from Arrested Development, saying this.
Now, I'm going to say straight up, I've got criticisms for rappers who use their platform for, perpetuating negative stereotypes, violence, and so forth as well. I've been saying for decades now, I'm saying that that's a problem. I've said it in my music. I did gospel rap for over 15 years, and I was constantly getting the rappers for that. So I'm all about that. I'm just saying that, I'm going to call a spade and keep that same energy no matter who it is that I'm dealing with. And the fact of the matter is, let's talk. We can have some real discussions. And I'm glad the speech brought that up. We can have some real discussions about how the art form of hip hop has been weaponized against the Black community, and it's literally been weaponized through its industrialized and thereby weaponized. That's what's happened. I'm saying positive music doesn't sell, and so the industry don't sell it. I'm saying
that's not even the issue. The issue is we don't want to sell it,
right? Oh,
because Speech sells records. Like, he tours the world every year, even though you might not hear the record on mainstream radio in America. He does festivals. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me he's not valuable. But when people like him and other dudes who are talking about positivity in their records, they're being told at these platforms, in these streaming services, yeah, this is not the platform for you.
And matter of fact, I'm gonna go further than that. Somebody did this. I'm gonna pull up. Maybe I can put this in the chat as well. But somebody was talking about how Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, if we're talking about disrespecting Black women, we can do that all day in hip hop. If we're talking about robbing, stealing, killing Black people, we can do that all day in hip hop. But he released he had one song where he had like one line in there. But basically, he like gave a kind of like a date rape drug to a white girl or something like that, or something like in one of his songs. And that's what got him canceled. Endorsements was chopped off. Like, I mean, that's when the public came after him. It's like, as long as you're talking about Black B's and H's, hey, we'll consume your music. But as soon as you start talking about white girls and giving them drugs and all that kind of stuff, oh no, we can't have any of that. We can't have any of that.
Actually, Styles P.
That's really what happened.
Styles P from the Lots, and I saw an interview. He said when he did, I think it's still his biggest song, "I Get High," right? Got a lot of airplay in New York radio, no problem. Then he did a follow-up talking about Black and being proud to be Black. The program director had to sit down and have a conversation about whether or not this should be in the playlist. Mind you, the last song was a hit. It was a hit. But they were concerned about the subject matter, about him talking about I'm Black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
now, I still got criticism for these rappers. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very passionate about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying they're not the only ones that have their hand in the pot. That's all I'm saying. Right. We got to call a spade a spade.
True indeed.
Do the right thing, to be upstanding citizens. That is the call to action that I have for Black America with Brexit. Like, why do we keep fulfilling this narrative? What do you think the perception of us, by the way, is on the outside? You ever look at the comments? You ever go into like an anonymous blog and see what people say? Oh, just Black people being Black people. I see those racist comments. Oh, just Black people got to riot. Black people got to be Black people. You know how they are. Oh, just Black people being ignorant. That is the perception. When people get to be anonymous and talk about us, that's what they think about us. Right? They think that we are the kind of people who never uphold criminals.
She actually called those kind of comments racist.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's give her that. She actually said those things are racist.
Right. Right.
Then you're saying that racism exists if you're calling those statements racist, right?
True.
Right? Oh, okay.
True. You know. Well, I mean, but on top of that, I mean, like you said, she calls those things racist. Now, what she does is she ties that to our behavior. Like the reason why they're saying that we're basically fueling the fire of these racist people. Well, look, they shouldn't be racist. Period. I mean, what people are doing, whatever, it doesn't matter. If they're racist. Right. You can't just tie that to what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Because your behavior then is tethered to my behavior.
Right. But now,
so I empowered you to hate me. That's what I do.
Right. Hey, we want to keep it all the way 100. We might have to go out with this one because I might shut the channel down. But if we keep it all the way 100, one of the things that people in other communities say is that Black women are angry, ratchet, and loud. You know what I'm saying? By ratchet, I mean cantankerous, mean, disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. So I don't believe that about Black women, but I can say that Candace Owens often comes off as angry, disrespectful, and loud. Right? She's the angry. She comes off as
she meets the criteria.
Right. So I'm just saying, if she's concerned about what other people have to say about us, and that's definitely something to say about the angry Black woman, then maybe she should reconsider how she's presenting herself on a public platform. Maybe she should stop coming off as angry, disrespectful, and loud all the time. And so she's always arguing with somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's what they believe, that our women are argumentative, just like that, right?
Right.
So if we need to switch up what we're doing, then maybe she should apply that same critique to herself and say, you know what, I'm going to stop presenting myself in such a way that I could be construed as angry, disrespectful, and loud. You know,
enough. And if she needs help, the bodega ladies will be more than happy to sit down and walk her through it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bodega ladies. All right.
Right.
As the martyrs of our society, that we will never take account for the things that we do wrong, right? That we don't have it within us to educate ourselves to get ahead. And that for those of us that actually do it, well, we get called coons, right? You got Condoleezza Rice, she's a coon. Larry Elder, he's a coon. Dr. Ben Carson, brain surgeon, first ever to perform the surgery of splitting twins that are connected by the head. He's a coon, right? What a loser he is. What a stupid guy he is. Kanye West says he's not going to be told to do it because of the color of his skin. He's a coon. He's lost. He's in the sunken place. The sunken place. That's where we all are, right? Because we demand more and we will get more out of this society because we're going to get ahead, right? That's what's going to happen. We're going to get ahead. Black conservatives get ahead because we don't subscribe to this narrative. Because you're not going to catch me outside trying to grab a TV pretending that it's because a martyr named George Floyd got killed. Okay? I'm a big believer that no matter what color you are, you do stupid things, you win stupid prizes. Okay? We have to do better. We have to teach our kids better, or we're not going to get ahead, right?
Well, let me just agree with that. We need to teach our kids better so we can get ahead. You know, let me find that point of agreement. With that being said, again, we got to correct it. She's pushing a narrative as well. When it comes to Ben Carson, anybody in the Black community will tell you that Ben Carson was like legendary. You know what I'm saying? For people who knew who he was, Ben Carson was legendary in the Black community.
Right.
He didn't really start catching flack until he got in the political arena and started messing up his legacy. That's what happened. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm just saying this is what people are. This is the perception. You know, for example, when Ben Carson says, "Well, if I'm president, I'll be the first Black president." Like when you say things like that, then people are gonna say they're gonna reappraise your legacy. They're gonna say, "Well, dang, man, like we really respect." I mean, they made a whole movie about the man. Right. I've seen him speak in person. Like when I was a kid, he came to my church when I was like 10, 11 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Like, of course the man is high, should be highly respected for his accomplishments, but let's not make it as if like just because he achieved, you know what I'm saying? Like, because he had already achieved and was well revered in the Black community prior to his political era. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't the achievement, you know what I'm saying, that made that people have angst with. Right. Concerned about what he did once he got in the political era. Right. Yeah. So you got to stop doing the same. Like when I was Larry Elder, it's not the fact that you're successful. You know what I'm saying? It's because you say and do things that seem to be counter to the best interests of the Black community. Now we can agree or disagree. I'm just saying that it's not just, well, if you're successful, then you're a coon. Now, I'm not saying that, sure, you can have this crab in the bucket mentality among Black people. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Sometimes we do hate on each other. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not something that's like exclusive to conservatives or exclusive to like, if you're a conservative, we're going to achieve and cats are going to be mad at us. No, that's not what it is. If anything, I will absolutely concede that the crab in the bucket mentality seems to have been an issue, you know what I'm saying, in the Black community. I think it's probably less so now, in my opinion, but I'm not saying it's not there. But it's not because you're successful and you're conservative. No. It's because we believe that you're saying and doing things that militate against the best interest of the Black community.
What a lot of rappers use when, you're just hating on me,
right?
Like you're using that kind of a defense. It's like, I'm a coon because I'm successful. So now you're hating it. Like, no, it has nothing to do with hating your success at all.
As a battle rapper, I think it's smart. You know what I mean? Because one thing you want to do in battle rap is you want to call out your own inadequacies before somebody else does, because it disarms them. Because then if they mention it, like for example, like Eminem would do that. You know what I'm saying, he'll say something about him being a white rapper. Because now that he's taking that off the table, it's not going to be as impactful if somebody else says something about him being a white rapper. So it's the same thing with her. Like she kind of will take this whole coon thing off the table by saying, "Well, you calling me a coon because I'm successful." Well, now if somebody does call her a coon, she's got that angle. It's the same thing they do in battle rap,
right?
I can't say nobody, but she bears some responsibility in terms of how she's treated in the public square. Like, I'm sorry, I would advise that she handle herself differently in these spaces. You know what I'm saying? I think that she inspires people, you know what I'm saying, to have some animus toward her that maybe. I'm sorry, man. You got to carry yourself differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's got beef for me for something I did, that's my fault. You know what I'm saying? I've got to look in the mirror and take that L. I've got to change. If somebody has beef for me solely because of something I communicate, then I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But if you can make an honest assessment of yourself and say, yeah, you know what? Maybe if I'm a Christian, maybe I should season my words with grace. So that imparts, excuse me, I should season my words with salt so it imparts grace to the hearers. I'm saying maybe a soft word does turn away wrath. Maybe I can employ that.
A gentle tongue could break a bone, right?
Right. So rather than going in these Twitter spats back and forth with Tommy Loren and calling her out her name and saying disparaging things about her, maybe I can apply the scripture then. You know what I'm saying? Like if you do those kind of things, and I think it's not to say that nobody's going to hate on her, but at least she'll put herself in a better position to not be disparaged.
Anyways, this is just a rant because I have been feeling super, super, super annoyed at these depictions in society. I have no apologies here to make. George Floyd is not my martyr. He can be yours. That's all I have to say to Black America.
All right.
Okay. So
that's all she has to say to Black America. All right.
I got the strong man for sale, and I hope you buy it.
Right. So just to recap, she's misconstrued the issue. It's not the case that people just memorial or martyring George Floyd. I mean, that's not. I think she's totally mischaracterized that. At the end of the day, I think he's emblematic of a broader issue that people are touching on. Secondly, she was absolutely wrong. It's demonstrably false that the Black community is the only ones that cater to the lowest denominator. That's obviously false. And in terms of statistics, she made it about race. It's like Black versus doing this and whites doing that. When really, she's really attached just a surface level explanation to something that's far deeper and deals with.
And as a believer, she has theological issues when it comes to object morality and grace, and the act of forgiveness.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And that's what we learn, boys and girls.
That's what we learn.
Yes, forgiveness is crucial. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Success is pleasing the Lord. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sir, as always,
man.
Super fun.
What? I gotta apologize to you, man. I feel like I was going on too long a couple of times, man. I was like,
nah, but man, use the pocket, bro.
We talked about doing an hour and a half.
We lie to ourselves every time we do that. We just gotta stop it. We just gotta drop it. We lie to ourselves.
We're gonna do 8 hours.
Maybe we should do the opposite, right? We say we're gonna do 16 hours, and then we'll do like 45 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
15-minute episodes and stuff. Yeah.
But man, as always, brother, it is so much a pleasure having you here.
Thank you,
chop it up, bounce ideas off each other. You not only being who you are, but what you've done for me. Just extending the right hand of fellowship and allowing me to be a part of this community, you and Vocab. And, you know, I'm just trying to pay it forward. You know, we got some amazing women who are killing the game right now. You know what I mean? I think it's really important that we empower them. And yeah, bro, I personally want to say in front of everybody, I want to thank you for helping me do what we're doing right now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
man, I'm humble, man. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. You know, I mean, my thing is people have helped me along the way. Shout out to Lisa Fields. You know what I'm saying, when I was early in the game with True ID, you know what I'm saying, she was accessible to kind of help me get going and give me some ideas. Eric Mason, and you know, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I mean, you know, just being able to you know, pay it forward. Shout out to my wife, because if it wasn't for her, you know, down here at the crib,
yeah, the wires rock. The wires rock. Yes.
Yeah, there would be no True ID. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and shout out to my patrons as well. I see some in the chat. You know, thank you guys for continuing on. So I just want to pass the thanks along, man. You know, but I love what you're doing, bro. I love what you're doing. I love you know, the content you're putting out. I'm definitely gonna go back and check out the bodega from last night, because we should be shouting out our sisters. You know what I'm saying? Michelle Turner, Titus 2. Shout out to Nefertiti as well. You know what I'm saying? Doing her thing with Lift Every Voice. You know, we need to make sure that we're you know, up, you know, holding them up, man. You know,
absolutely. So what's next for Mr. Coleman in these YouTube streets? Yeah,
so last week I did a session for, you know, Eric Mason on the problem of evil. You know, they're doing a live Facebook Zoom series, you know, urban apologetics, and so I was able to do that with them and deal with the problem of evil. And so next Saturday I'm doing a second one of those, where I'll be dealing with Black atheism in the African American context,
nice,
or Africans in the diaspora. So I'll be doing that next Saturday on the 27th between 10 and 12. I got a lot of stuff coming down the pike, man. I'll be on there with Tim Stratton and Free Thinking Ministries. I think that's like Tuesday or Thursday. I got you know, what's my man, So Real. He's gonna be coming on the channel talking about a book he just wrote. And actually, I just developed refined one of my arguments that I dropped during the Black Atheism, the Cyber City conference. I refined one of them, and I just drafted a new syllogism for a new argument that I'm pretty excited about. So I'll probably be doing that on my channel as well. You know, so I don't know if I'm not gonna spill. I want to spill the beans on my new argument, but I'm gonna leave it as it is.
Okay, no doubt. For me, so this Thursday I'm going to get together with SOC and CMB, and we're going to talk about the color correcting of bad eisegesis. And that's you know, there's a lot of scriptures that people use to prove text, you know, the blackness in the Bible, which of course there is blackness in the Bible, but you don't have to like twist scriptures to get that point across. Right. And we're going to take a nice little tour of some popular scriptures that have been misused to prove a point that is there, but you know, you could do it without being, you know, just misplacing and saying things out of context. So we're going to address that. And of course, next Friday, you know, Brooklyn Bodega is definitely going to be in effect as always. And I think in July, I will be having IP will be on the channel. We're going to talk about ancient African monotheism. So, so yeah, so that's about it. So any last words before we sign off, sir?
Yeah, man. I think I just want to say, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, but just I want to encourage everybody, you know, pray for Candace Owens, man. Like this is not about vitriol or anger towards her. I think that, you know, if you know, apparently she says she's a believer, and if that's the case, then praise God, man. You know what I'm saying? I hope that, you know, she finds herself grounded in him, you know what I'm saying, in ways that maybe she doesn't now. And, you know, this critique is not about like being mean spirited or anything like that. I just want to make that clear. Right. But also, I also want to make it clear that, you know, we need Black Christian voices who are willing to, you know, go against the grain when ideas are bad in our community and willing to uplift the good. You know what I'm saying, from a biblical standpoint. So I would encourage anybody out there who, you know, who maybe that's your passion. Like we need your voice. We shouldn't have to look to people who are looking at things through an unbiblical lens to have a voice in a political spectrum, political squares, rather, public square. So I just want to encourage people, you know, shout out to my man, Jason Waller. You know, we disagree on a lot of things, you know what I'm saying, but I really appreciate him. He's definitely a Black Christian conservative that I think is very sensible And I would point people to him as well. You know what I'm saying? But you know, there's a number of folks out here, and we need to do a better job, I think, of fostering and supporting our brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying, out there. I mean, I'm not. That's not listeners. I'm dead serious. Like, we need to, you know, I can't imagine what kind of pressure it must be to be in her space. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
To feel like you have to say something like this. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that does something to the soul when you're in that kind of position. And so, you know, we definitely need to lift her up in prayer.
And with that being said, that is Adam Coleman, BK Apologist, and we're signing off. 1.